Well, welcome everybody once again to another installment of the greatest, the latest, and the masturbatist podcast, non-podcast, because we're not on any of those platforms yet, but I'm figuring it out as I go along. Trav here, of course, with my other main host here, the man with a plan, the man who would bomb Afghanistan, and the vanilla gorilla that will always thrill you, Joey Fats.
Just a couple dudes cranking their hogs on a Monday night.
What else we? Hey, you give me Creed blasting in the garage, drinking beer.
All I need is the 3 C's: Creed, Coors, and cranking my hog.
That's it. And maybe if you'll allow it, Christ into your heart.
Oh, always with Christ. Go with Christ. Christ wants me to crank my hog.
Dog the Bounty Hunter wants you to do it too.
That's plumb wild, isn't
it? I'll tell you what, that's plumb wild. He lied to me.
He lied to me.
He lied to me. Exactly.
So I showed that video to my brother-in-law on the cruise a couple weeks ago, and because he has the same exact sense of humor I do, and I don't know why I found that as funny as I did, but it was just wicked funny. And then an hour later, we're getting a drink at a bar or something like that, and I was like, wow, yeah, did you see that and this and that? My brother-in-law just goes, that was plumb wild, isn't it? And that was it, dude. For the rest of the week, everything was plumb wild. We always have this.
That was it.
This ability to just come up with one stupid catchphrase that we just run with every time we're on vacation together. And I looked at him and I was like, that's it. That's the one. We already got the dumbass thing we're gonna say for the rest of the week. Back in August when they came home, it was blowing dudes was the thing. I don't know why. Before that, everything was dank.
Oh, dude, dank was something back in high school for me and my.
I brought it back big time a year and a half ago for no reason.
Oh, you got to bring back, but Mo, the dank.
It's all about the dank. That shit's dank, son. I still use fat every chance I get.
Yeah, with the pH.
Yeah, I'm bringing that shit back, bro. It was the best of times.
Pretty hot and tempting.
Yes.
And then later it became just, that's fat. That's just dope.
Yeah. That shit's fat as fuck, my guy.
Well, what's dope mean? Well, it means it's fresh. Well, what's fresh? It means, that's chill.
Yeah.
It all leads back to Miles Davis, though, with him saying cool.
Yeah. Pretty much.
They're all derivative of Miles Davis. So we have him to blame for Riz and bussin' and other words that I don't know what people are saying. I think they're having a stroke.
That shit slaps.
I'm just trying to buy groceries.
I have a T-shirt of Jesus throwing down a tomahawk dunk, and it says "He is risen" on it.
Oh, he's risen with 5 Z's. Yeah.
So stupid, but it's so funny.
I'd like to. Anytime I see something like that, and I did just see a cheap mobile phone alternative, to the major ones, but it's below Mint Mobile, and it was it looked like NFL Blitz, the video game.
Oh.
And they got the guy that did the voice, that was the announcer for those games and also NBA Jam. So he's like, oh, he is risen! Boom shakalaka! But now you're only paying $15 a month for your cell phone service.
It's
He's on fire.
It's we all know you can't afford Cricket Wireless, so here you go.
But this
is
is
a cheaper version.
No,
but look, we made the commercial nostalgic.
Yeah, and it is 100% that same voice actor.
That's fucking hilarious.
Which is amazing. It's indistinguishable. That's him, unless they're using AI. But I know the guy is still alive, so they probably just paid him enough.
Well, you know what the kids say these days. If it's too Gucci to be Trill, it's probably Cap.
I don't know what that means, and I wish you didn't say it.
Somebody out there is going to be like, this dude is way too old to be saying that shit.
Absolutely. I mean, if somebody out there right now is watching that, us right now saying that, then yeah, we probably are too old for them.
Probably, but that's okay. We relate to all ages.
Or yeah, It's like Whitney Houston said, "I'm every woman, but I'm every generation."
Yes, we pluck the things we like, sometimes out of mockery and other times out of necessity.
More often than not, the latter. But
More
yes,
often not the latter. Yes, definitely more often the former.
absolutely. But hey, anything happened this past week? I don't know. Since last time we signed off.
I mean, it was a pretty quiet week, I think, all in all.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot happened.
Yeah, like New Year's Eve happened and New Year's Day, and there wasn't
Yeah, I
really
mean,
anything that
the ball
crazy.
dropped in Times Square as it always does, and it
As
was a
is
terrible.
tradition, yeah.
As it was a terrible, that terrible tradition, and
I once again didn't watch it.
15 people got run over by a truck in New Orleans, so that's pretty par for the course.
Right.
I'm trying to think. Oh, somebody bombed Trump Tower in Vegas, or tried to.
Yeah, that happened.
Those things happened, but other than that, I think it was pretty quiet.
Wait, hold on. Did you have champagne at midnight?
I did not. I was actually working.
Well, what is working at midnight on New Year's Eve if not the champagne of life?
Yeah, I mean, there's nowhere I wanted to spend my New Year's Eve more than in a prison counting convicts at midnight. That's how I wanted to do it. It's how I always dream it. So now I'm living that dream.
Did it physically? Mine was in my own mental construct. I went out. I didn't plan on going out that evening, but I did. Everything went swimmingly. Got home safe. No problems. I barely drank it. I had a $15
That's always
tab.
a plus.
$15 tab. I was there for like 3.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
So
you really didn't drink much at all, unless it was dollar draft night, and then in which case you might have had a time, but...
No, Blue Moons.
No. Yeah, wow, those aren't cheap either, so you really didn't go too hard in the paint.
No, a couple people bought me, one person bought me a beer, another person bought me a shot, but that was it.
There you go. That sounds like a good night, though. I mean, I always avoid going out on New Year's just because it's amateur night.
Yes, it's same with Thanksgiving Eve, even though I say that every year, and I went out for it this past year.
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day is another one that I don't really like to do because you get all the people that don't drink. Like, I drink regularly, so I know how much I can handle before I get stupid.
Yep.
That's when the people that don't drink regularly come out, and they're like, "Oh, dude, I haven't been out in so long. Yeah, let me start off the night with 5 Long Island iced teas, and then we'll do some shots." Next thing you know, they're puking outside the bar, and they're like, "No, I'm fine to drive, bro. I just had to get that out of me." It's like, no, you're not. And then they're like, "What, bro? You want to fight me, bro? I'm not letting you. I'm driving home, bro. You can fight me if you want, bro." And you're like, "Oh, God, here we go."
I'd rather deal with that than the type of person I dealt with yesterday. So I was doing like an Uber Eats delivery, but it was a shop for the person at a grocery store, and then check out, and then you deliver it to them. I had a little kerfuffle with the app. While I was checking out, I went to the self-checkout thing. I'm standing there for 20 minutes, and then I eventually have to call customer support. And bless this poor guy who was working that area, but he kept coming over and he's like, "Hey, can I help you?" And I was like, "No, you're doing all you can." But some asshole in the line, I see him staring at me, and he keeps shaking his head like, and he's just holding a bouquet of flowers. And so eventually I'm on the phone now with customer service trying to get this sorted out because it's not my fault that this happened.
Right.
It's an app glitch. But I look directly at him and I say, "Hey, it's an Uber Eats goddamn app problem, not me personally doing it. Do you think I want to be here holding up the line this whole time? Do you have a problem?" And he's like, "No, no." I said, "Well, then stop shaking your head at me. Otherwise, I'm going to make your ass into a nice vase for those flowers that you bought here at Shaw's, you cheap fuck. Go to a florist." And he shut up. Everyone else behind him shut up. It all got sorted out, and I was able to leave and complete the order just fine. But don't remember why I started talking about that, but there we go.
We were talking about New Year's Eve and things we would rather not be doing.
Oh, yeah. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, I'd rather be doing what I did at New Year's Eve, which was
dealing with that
at home, than dealing with that.
Yeah.
I did another one today, and it was much longer, but no issues whatsoever, and no assholes.
There you go.
Yeah,
As long as you As long as you have appropriate time to get home and crank your hog, you're good.
Oh, absolutely. I started at around like 11 o'clock this morning,
It's
and
all about the hog cranking.
I had plenty of time to do that on a nice trail walk afterwards.
There you go. So you made out.
Yep, I got a good 5 miles in today.
Outstanding. Well, yeah, but yeah, New Year's Eve was. You said it was off and popping, man. Which one do you want to start with? Because I mean, obviously, both are pretty.
I
pretty. I mean, first and foremost, happy Insurrection Day. I meant to say that too.
Well, yes, thank you. It's about time.
Cannot forget. It is the anniversary of the worst thing that ever happened to America. Worse than Pearl Harbor and 9/11 combined.
All those things. And Kira, this one goes out to you. To anyone that conflates this to such a horrible thing as 9/11 or even Pearl Harbor is reprehensible. You cannot, with a straight face, tell me that you believe that.
Yeah, you're just
that you're a scumbag, or at least
you're an asshole.
Yeah, at this point, because I don't think it's a mental thing, like people denying this. It's just they're denying reality. But to conflate it and to put it up on that level of a severity of a national tragedy is disgusting, quite frankly. Like,
yeah, I mean, comparing January 6th to 9/11 or Pearl Harbor, I forget who the first person to do that was, but it was it Chuck Schumer or somebody? It was somebody along those lines, and they were like the first one to do it. And I literally was like, I mean, I'm like, I know they're gonna say whatever it is they gotta say to fire everybody up and get everybody all fucking worked up over this, because this was their only hope of Trump not getting elected, was trying to frame him as a insurrectionist felon, and nobody bought it.
Nobody kill his political opponents in public, like.
Yeah, they were gonna hang Mike Pence. It's like, dude, that gallows that they showed, that was like an up close fucking photo. I think it was like 18 inches tall. Like, it was a model. Nobody was getting hung in a gallows today.
Yeah, that wouldn't have withheld anybody standing on it, let alone
for
dropping
real.
Somebody.
But yeah, I do find it fascinating that people, the fact that we are the most armed civilian population in the history of humanity in terms of like guns per capita, and the one time the United States like general public decides like, all right, this is it, like we're gonna overthrow the government, and they don't. Nobody brought a gun. Everyone's looking at each other like, I thought you were bringing the guns. I didn't bring the guns. What do you mean you didn't bring the guns?
Shit, my wife was supposed to pack my gun and she fucked up. Like,
damn it, man. Like, I always keep a gun on me, but all I got is this, 2-shot Derringer. Like, wait, what? All the AR-15s we sell in this country, nobody brought one. Everybody's like, no. It's like, all right, well, I guess we'll just go break some windows or something. Fuck it. Like, it's like, anyone who's ever seen or like studied history and knows what an actual insurrection looks like, and then tries to call January 6th an insurrection, is either just being obtuse for the sake of being obnoxious on social media, which, okay, fine, like you want to troll and do your thing, that's your prerogative, or and I feel like this is the majority of the people. You're a complete fucking retard, and you actually believe that, Capitol cops were beat to death with fire extinguishers and like multiple people died and all the other fairy tales they tell you. I'm like, nope, none of that happened.
You really can't compare it to anything like that. You can't even put it on par with school shootings, because shootings didn't happen except for Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley. The one lone death of that day, which rest in peace, Ashley Babbitt.
Yes.
But like, and you know what's funny is the cop that shot her is now the head of the Capitol Police. Like, he's like the chief. He got promoted.
He had already been reprimanded before the shooting, before January 6th, and I don't even like calling it January 6th or J6. Because that's like saying, oh, it was 9/11. You know what I mean? Like, associating it.
It lends that credibility to it.
No, it was a day. It was 4 hours, and really nothing happened other than Ashley Babbitt senselessly being killed.
I just remember posting on Facebook and being like, "Ain't no fun when the rabbit gets the gun,"
right?
and everybody was like, and a bunch of people got like wicked butthurt. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is not that big a deal. I'm like, it's probably a bunch of paid left wing and antagonists out there just like causing trouble, which I believe was the majority of the people that caused the majority of the trouble, and them in the feds. You know, everybody else that got arrested for this is like, all right, well, we're just gonna walk through. Like, my favorite part about this insurrection was it was so violent and so horrible, yet everybody stayed within the velvet ropes, you know, in the designated walking areas. Nobody crossed over them. They were like, no, we're gonna overthrow the government, but we're gonna be very fucking polite about it.
Oh, they stayed within the velvet ropes for that, and then they did go into offices and put their feet up on
the guy with his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk is still one of the most iconic pictures of all time.
Yeah, him and of course the shaman
Jacob Chansley.
Yes, just because of his you know,
the QAnon the QAnon shaman, who all the people that think it was an insurrection, they were like, he's gonna be the leader of the party, and you're like, yep, that's right. We were gonna anoint the guy with the blue face paint and the buffalo headdress.
Mm-hmm.
He was gonna be the new president of the United States. He was the guy that was gonna take over, and we were like, yeah, that's who we're getting behind.
Yep, and all the Nordic rune tattoos. Like that's. I mean, I'd have a beer with him, but I'm not taking.
Hell yeah! I mean, actually, I think he's a vegan, so I don't even know if he is allowed to have beer, but maybe. I guess beer is all vegetable.
There must be vegan beer at this point, or
I mean, unless he's one of those vegans that's like, no, plants are people.
But he probably takes mushrooms.
No. Oh, fuck
they're
yeah.
Not plants, they're fungus.
No, my boy that dude is heavy into psychedelics for sure. Like, there's no way he's not.
Absolutely, I can smell out our own kind.
Yeah.
That guy trips.
Takes one to know one, brotherhood. But yeah, I still love like to this day, people are like still clinging to the fact that like, well, a Capitol cop was murdered, and it's like, no, actually, your Brian Sicknick did not die at the Capitol that day. He died of a brain aneurysm or something like that, like 2 or 3 days later. So
yeah, it was either that or it was like a heart related thing. It
something like that.
Nothing. It wasn't a direct
a heart attack or something.
Yeah, it wasn't a direct result of that day and what happened that day.
I remember right after, it was like got to have been summer of 2021 or maybe mid 2022. And we were talking about the insurrection at work, and we were arguing about it. I was arguing with one of my liberal friends about it, and one of my other friends who leaned left but was pretty apolitical, but he just thought, like, you know, he was, how do I say this? He was Cape Verdean, so he's one of those, he's black when it's convenient kind of friends, like people. And
I know the type, yeah.
Yeah, and trust me, and don't, I'm not, this is not something I've never said to him either, so he knows this, and he knows I always fuck with him about it. But it's funny, but he was like, he didn't really know what to think. He was like, I don't know, man. He's like, it was pretty fucked up, this and that. He's like, you know, they beat the fuck out of that Capitol cop, and they beat his ass with the fire extinguisher. I was like, no, they didn't. He's like, yeah, they did. I saw it all over the news. They beat him with the fire extinguisher. I said, nope, that was the New York Times. Yeah. I said, and they had to retract that story because it was bullshit. And I went and I pulled it up on Google, and I showed him the retraction and the correction of the story, and he just threw his hands in the air. He's like, I don't even fucking know what to believe anymore, dude. What the fuck? Like,
exactly.
And that was it. He was red pilled from that day forward.
Well, good for him, and you know, having the wool that was pulled over his eyes then pulled off of his eyes.
Yeah, I mean, at least he was open enough to be like, oh fuck, like, I have been lied to. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like, not making this up. Like, I got the receipts.
He wasn't immediately dismissive of what you presented to him. He was receptive to it.
No, my other friend who was a liberal was like, well, he might have died of a heart attack 2 days later, but it could have been due to the stress of being there that day. And I'm like, okay, so like the stress of being at work on any other normal day, like, you don't think that cumulatively had an effect? He's like, not when there's tens of thousands of angry fucking MAGA, what do you call us, MAGA fags or something like that? Like, you know, charging the Capitol and like breaking down barriers. And I'm like, oh, you mean like these barriers? And I just show like the clip of like the cops like moving the barriers out of the way and being like, go right ahead. Just try not to break anything. And everybody's like, thank you, sir. We won't. Like, we just want to take some pictures. Like, yeah. And he's like, well, that's not the whole story. There was worse than that. And I was like, oh, you mean like this? It's like another video of like cops just welcoming people in and like basically giving them a tour. I mean, like, hey guys, this is like a sacred chamber. Like, don't do anything in here. And they're like, all right, man, we're just gonna take a picture and leave. Like, is that cool? And he's like, yeah, man, just like don't break anything. They're like, cool, man.
Yeah,
And that was Jacob Chansley in that particular video.
and a couple people walked out with some souvenirs, so to speak. But
that guy that walked out with a podium is a fucking legend.
That's amazing. But ultimately, nothing. If that's an insurrection, if that's your base level of what you consider being an insurrection is, then holy shit, you must be mad at every other fucking country and group of people that have ever done anything even remotely worse than that, which is
right.
Everyone. That's like being mad at America still for slavery when it's still happening, and
right.
we were the first next to Britain to abolish it.
Right. It's like, God damn it. It's America's greatest sin. It's like, yeah, but like we corrected it. Like we fixed it. And, you know, we were like, yeah, super sorry about that. But like it did happen. You know, things were a little different back then. Okay. We evolved. All right.
Yeah.
Unlike the Chinese, okay, that are still enslaving people for labor, but whatever.
Still happening in Africa too. Like,
absolutely it is.
How do you think those slaves got here? It was all because of these kings in Africa selling their own people, or more often than not, their rivals' tribes.
Yeah. Right. They would capture and conquer a tribe, and they'd be like, hello, white man, would you like some free labor?
Yeah, and I'm not saying the white people were right to, purchase these people.
They were just partaking in a system that was presented to them. They didn't know any better.
Existed too. Like,
yeah, I mean,
the white slavers got there, there was already slavery.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, the Romans had slaves, the Egyptians had slaves, pretty sure like basically since the dawn of time, like pretty sure the Aztecs and the Incas had slaves.
Yeah.
Everybody's been into slavery at one point or another. No one's innocent of it.
It's the same reason why I get mad when people like, well, America has stolen land from the natives.
We conquered it.
Exactly. Well, I guess you're going to have to retroactively be mad at every other culture that has ever conquered massive amounts of land. And if it wasn't the Europeans that landed in North America first and did that, it was going to be somebody else.
100%.
It was only a matter of time.
Yep.
The technological gap was too big at that point.
Yeah, if the Native Americans that were here didn't want to be conquered, maybe they should have evolved from living in teepees and, praying to stars that, things would go right, and develop things like gunpowder and science and societies and, advanced weaponry. I don't know, well, I mean, imagine if one of them was like, holy shit, check it out. I can fire this lead ball at 2,000 feet per second at someone's chest. It's going to kill them instantly instead of having to use this fucking axe and get up 6 inches from them and risk my own ass.
Unfortunately for them, they didn't have that. And they also didn't have horses until the Europeans got here either.
Which I find hilarious because you always think of like
cowboys and Indians being the best at riding horse. Well, they got very good at it, yes, but horses were not indigenous here, at least in that time in history, that point in history. Until then, they existed thousands, if not millions, of years ago.
It's manifest destiny, bro.
They weren't domesticated in the way that they were until the Europeans brought them over here.
Correct, but nobody
thought they were monsters.
They were like, what are these four-legged beasts that you ride on the back of? It's like, actually, they're really, really nice. Don't hurt them. They're really sweet animals. They can kill you, but they're really, really fucking sweet. Check it out. Feel its nose. It feels like silk. It's cute.
Yeah, horses are awesome. I always feel
I love horses.
So inept around them though. Because it's just like, well, this is just a giant muscle that could kill me at any point.
I know, right? One big motherfucking muscle.
But here's some oats.
Brother, may I have some oats?
Yes, of course.
No, brother.
So
speaking of oats, before we get into this stuff, I'm gonna make another drink, so hold it down for 2 minutes.
I will.
I'm trying to suck these things down because I really want to sleep tonight. So I gotta numb this pain. Hopefully I can find the sweet, sweet balance of muscle relaxers, ibuprofen, and alcohol, and just zen out.
Work your alchemy, brother. I will hold it down.
That's the goal.
I might need you to hold it down when you get back, just so I can pee. But
okay, yeah, give me 2 minutes.
Absolutely, I got.
I'll hustle up.
Take your time. So yeah, folks, not much really happened last week, right? We're making light of that. We're obviously making a joke about how nothing really happened, but obviously it did. We're going to be getting to that in a little bit, but I want to ask you, how are you doing? How's your week been? Your new year been good? Been nice? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. I'll be reading them live. If anybody cares to leave a comment, then go right ahead. Be here answering them the best that I can as soon as Joey gets back to. But in the meantime, yeah, how's everyone been doing? You know, we're not that far away from Uncle Don coming back, taking over, as he should have last time. But hey, better late than never. At least he was able to run, and he won. So we got that going for us, don't we? Yes, we do. What is it, the 20th, I believe? So, yeah, we got about 14 days, 2 weeks, until that comes into fruition. So, let's all be optimistic about that the best that we can, because, and I say God knows and Lord knows, and I'm not religious at all. I'm agnostic as fuck, but, you know, it's parlance and just a phrase of speech. But Lord knows, don't I believe that things will get better once Uncle Donnie's back in that big chair of his, which he so rightfully deserves. A chair that he always has open here at the adult table. Just like you all do too. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share the shit out of the stream whenever you can. Much appreciated. We enjoy new people. We enjoy our regular viewers. We enjoy all of you. Sounds like Joey's phone's going off. That wasn't mine. Maybe it was. I keep it on silent, but yes, I hope everyone's new year has been good so far. I don't buy into that whole new year, new me bullshit. You can change any aspect of your life whenever you want. Don't use the new year as an excuse as to do it, because most people don't adhere to their New Year's resolutions. The only New Year's resolution that I've ever upheld, I made, I want to say I was like 12 or 13. It was, I will never make another New Year's resolution, and goddamn it, I've stuck to it. So it is possible, folks. You just gotta believe in yourself, and also, you know, set realistic goals. But don't ever stop trying. You can't do that. You gotta keep it going. And here's Joe.
Okay.
There you go, Joe.
Now that I have proper lubrication
and fully engorged.
Yes. Ready to crank some hogs.
Always. God bless.
Always. I'm going to crank this bless in my pants.
Shit pant, yeah, absolutely.
Cargo fast, make shit pant.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to take a quick piss, and then we'll get right into it. That way you're the most amount of time that we both have, I guess.
I dig it, brother.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right. So while he's gone, we'll just sit here and wax poetic a little bit about insurrections and funny things. So I always found it funny. It was like I said, the point I made earlier, a couple minutes ago, is like we are the most armed population in the history of humanity. Like, it's not even up for debate at this point. At no point in time has anyone ever had more weapons as a civilization than we as Americans do right now. Like, and I'm just saying, so for people to sit there and try to tell me this was an insurrection, this was an attempt to overthrow the government. No, I'm not buying that. And that's, I think, the problem people have. They get fed these lines and these bullshit, and I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sound right. And then they tell you, like, oh, well, don't believe your lying eyes. January 6th was violence and it was terrible. I mean, it was something. It was certainly something. It was, less than ideal. I mean, I would rather have not had the optic of it, but at the same time, people were pissed off about the 2020 election and they were protesting it, and rightfully so, because now, 4 years later,
rightfully
I think now at January 6th is even more justifiable, knowing full well that the results of, because what we saw in this past election, Trav, in 2024 basically validates all of our theories that 2020 was stolen to a pretty large degree.
I mean, the events of this day in 2021 were justifiable to me that day that it happened.
Same. I wasn't upset about it.
And that is to say that nothing really happened. It was a statement being made.
Yeah, I mean, was I stoked on like knowing how it was going to look and how they were going to play it out over the next 3 years? No. Knowing what the left and the media and all the sycophants were going to do with it. It was like, oh, God damn it, here we go again. Like, doesn't matter.
Like it was this horrendous injustice and just to compare it to something an actual national tragedy or even a school shoot, like to put it up there with Columbine or something like that is just completely disrespectful to horrible events that were actually resulted in way worse damage.
Yeah, and much graver loss of life.
Damage. Yes.
Two people, I guess one person died at the Capitol that day. And if you really want to make that leap and really go for a pretty big stretch there, you really give my nice whole little stretch. You could say Brian Sicknick died as a result of the stress of that day. Okay, 2 people died from that day, one directly, one indirectly, but related. All right, if you want to make that case, I mean, I won't because I don't think it's true, but if you want to make that case, it still pales in comparison to anything that you've actually tried to compare it to.
Yeah.
Whether it be Pearl Harbor, 9/11, which I still to this day have just, I mean, I cannot for the fucking life of me fathom how anybody could get on TV with a straight face and say that.
It's disgusting.
Especially as you and I lived through 9/11. We saw it. We watched it happen live on TV in high school that day.
Yeah, in high school it was
fucking
wild, dude.
Never forget, dude. Tuesday morning, I come in. I'm in English class. Me and our good buddy Tommy Alphonse, who's no longer with us, right. And we're watching it, and we're taking a vocab test in English, and we're like, and our English teacher was like, we were in English A at the time, and we were both trying to transfer over to English B because all of our friends were in that class with Sapuka, and we wanted to be in that class because Miss Sapuka was on her last year, and she didn't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
So we were trying to get into that class, and we were in the process of switching, but we were taking this vocab test. And I remember my teachers being like, "No, the vocab test. It's our weekly vocab test every Tuesday. Da 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 da. We have to do these." And I'm like, "Ma'am," I said, "not for nothing." I said, "But I might be going to the Middle East, right after I get done with high school. So, I'm gonna watch this. I really don't care about this vocab test."
If a draft happens, now granted, when the first plane hit, none of us really knew what the fuck was going on. And people have to remember, the internet wasn't as pervasive as it is now.
No, not even close. All we had was the mainstream media really to rely on.
And I mean, yeah, you could find stuff on the news on like AOL.com and like CNN. Like they had their web, but we didn't have phones that did that in our hands.
Right, we weren't just scrolling Twitter, you know what I mean, like getting live second by second updates.
We still had CCTVs being CRTVs rather, being carted in for us to watch movies, mostly on VHS, or sometimes in some of the classrooms, they'd have the old giant fucking cube television mounted in a corner of the classroom. And that's how I was watching some of the footage, because the first one they both happened in the morning, and then by the time I had journalism class in like the mid-afternoon, I forget the name of the teacher. It was an older woman, but she was like, "All we're doing is watching the news."
She was blonde, right?
She had gray, like.
Okay, never mind.
Brownish gray hair.
Different teacher.
Yeah, I forget
Yeah, no,
her name, but she was like,
we
no,
had
all we're doing is, she's like, this is journalism class. I know we had like articles to write, but we're watching the news for this class, and that's all we're doing. And it
that
made sense.
same thing happened in my with my history class that year. I had Mr. Travers for history that year, and he was like, "Yeah, like we were going to go through the regular curriculum, but he changed the entire curriculum that year." And he's like, "No, he's like, we're going to pay a lot of attention to this event and everything that happens, you know, henceforth, because
This
he goes,
is history.
He goes, this is history. This is like, this is Pearl Harbor. Like, this is gonna propel us into a war." And he's like, "We're witnessing history as we go." And he goes, "It's very rare that you have, you know, even though you'd rather not, but when the opportunity is there to witness history happening and cover it as it goes." He's like, "You're living through something that is going to alter the course of the world."
Yeah.
He's like, "It's not every day these events happen, so we're going to study these." And he's like, we'll touch on stuff through, like, like the regular history curriculum, but he's like, "We're going to be very heavy on this." So it was very heavy on, like, you know, newspaper articles and like doing research and, you know, finding out like archives and going back and looking at the first World Trade Center bombings and the Gulf War, and then they, you know, everything.
Right.
It was actually a lot of fun. I did really well in it because that's right in my wheelhouse. But history was always one of my favorites. But yeah, it was just different.
Same.
We had the TV mounted up in the corner of my English class that morning, and my English teacher was like, "No," she's like, "You shut TVs off. Test time." I'm like, "Lady," I'm like, I'm gonna know. I need to know if if I'm getting drafted here. I'm not gonna give a shit, you know, about you know, word wealth. You know, the only words I'm gonna need to know are like Muhammad Ali, Aloha snack bar.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to do a vocab test? You better start teaching me fucking Arabic.
Yeah. But it was just funny. But like, we lived through that, right? So like, we lived through 9/11. We saw it. I mean, I remember just going to nutrition break afterwards, and Mr. Boudria just looked white as a ghost, and he's shaking his head, and he's like, "Can you fucking believe what they're doing right now?" And I've never seen Boudj like downbeat or like anything other than like really just happy and like happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, just
and he was like,
guy,
he was just fucking bummed the fuck out. And I remember being like, "Oh man, this is serious." Then come to find out, like, I had a family friend that was in the first tower, and like, you're like, "Oh fuck," and that turned into a whole nother thing. But like, you know, it was a pretty wild day, and we lived through it. And I remember sitting at that family's house, you know, while they were waiting, because you remember all the phone networks were like jammed up. Nobody could make cell phone calls in or out of New York. Like, there was no cell service.
Again,
like
all that
nightmare scenario
now that we take for granted was not what it was back then.
No, not even close. And everybody just kept waiting for the phone to ring and it to be, you know, it to be our friend and be like, "It's cool. I didn't go to work today. I'm out. I couldn't get to a phone." Obviously that phone call never came. But I just remember going to that house and seeing the pain and the hurt on all those people's faces throughout that entire process and the weeks afterward. Like, and you want to talk about like a group of friends, because they were probably a little older than we are right now, you know, mid-40s. And there was that took the wind out of that group of friends' sails so bad. Like, they used to throw parties, my parents' friends, and there was parties every weekend. Somebody was doing something. Come over, we'll get together. And I'm talking every weekend. And that happened, and it just like torpedoed the whole thing. And nobody was really the same afterwards, and rightfully so. It's not, and it sucked. But what I don't remember is anything remotely close to that pain and anguish that I saw on those people's faces and experienced on 9/11 after January 6th. Don't recall any of that. All
those reasons that you just said and all that we witnessed live, and how surreal that day was, and everything after it, the aftermath.
Like seeing the people jump from the building, and you're like, "Holy shit!" That guy was just like, "This is it."
A bunch of people did, and because they had no other way out. It was either that or
either that or burn to death, and it's like, well, let me see if I can fly. Maybe a miracle will happen, and God will spread me some wings.
They knew they had accepted their fate. They just wanted it to be done.
Like, yeah, they wanted to have some control over it, I guess, a little bit on their own terms, you know?
And I can't say I disagree with that. If put in that situation, I don't know how I'd handle that.
I
I'd
don't
like to
either.
think I'd be stoic, but at the same time, be like, maybe I'd look at the situation as it's happening, like, fuck that.
I've tried to put myself in that situation so many times, and I'm like,
It's
well, like,
impossible.
if you're definitely gonna die, like, at least try to escape. Like, can you make a parachute of some sort? Like, rappel down the side of the building? Like, I don't know. I'm like, you're just thinking like, well, I'm gonna die anyway, so I might as well try something.
The thing is, it's that size of a building, though. It's a
I know.
skyscraper. This isn't like a 4-story build.
Right.
That is no. You're done. I mean, the accounts.
Like, I
of the
wonder if there was
people
ever.
on the ground.
I wonder if there was a guy like on like the 96th floor of like the second building that like always brought a parachute to work.
Just in
He's
case.
like, yeah, just in case, man. Anything ever happens, I'm going out the window. See you later. And like that just happens to be the fucking like the floor of the plane hits and just like evaporates him. He never even like, fuck. I brought this parachute every day to work for 10 years for this exact reason. And they don't even get a chance to use it.
I thought you were gonna say he made it out, and then he'd be like the DB Cooper of 9/11. Like, where'd he go?
Like, imagine that he just like parachutes down and just like fucking just base jumps from the World Trade Center and is like, deuces,
you
bros.
could if you had a parachute from that height, absolutely. But
listen, man, I'm the kind of psychopath that thinks about bringing my own parachute onto a commercial airliner, just in case.
Just in case.
Because so I hate flying because
you never know. You never know.
And you know what doesn't happen at 30,000 feet? Minor fender benders. Like, those don't exist. So if anything happens, it's like,
and
catastrophic.
Especially at like 500 miles an hour, at least. That's what like most commercial airline
things go pretty sideways pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always think like, oh, should I just bring a parachute instead of my carry-on? Like, I could just strap this thing on and bail out the exit door if shit goes sideways. Be like, later, bros. But then again, you think about it too. You're like, yeah, you really can't just jump out of a moving plane while it's going that fast either. Like, you're probably gonna break every bone in your body once the air hits you, if you're lucky. It doesn't break your neck or something like that. But I don't know.
That's if you can get out of it safely. If it's already depressured, like, there's a lot of science and things that go.
Yeah, and there's a lot. There's a lot going into that. But at least in my head, I would have a chance. I'd have more of a chance than everybody else on that plane.
If any action movie that I've ever watched has taught me anything, I at least got a fucking chance.
And you know what? That's all I need, brother. I just want to make it to the ground so I can crank my hog one more time.
And shit pant. I should pant on the way down here.
Should pant on the way out. Yeah. I read this. So I was watching this. I listened to this podcast. Like, it's funny because like people don't realize like how fast 500 miles an hour is, because you're in a plane and you're like, oh, it's just air. How hard? Like, how bad can it be? I was listening to this podcast of an F-18 pilot, and long story short, like the computer on the plane was programmed to have a certain payload attached to it. So the plane thought it had this extra weight on it. So when he went to do this specific maneuver, he couldn't do it because the plane wouldn't let him, because if he did, it would have ripped the airframe apart because of the G-forces and the weight that would have been pressure putting on the plane. So long story short, he ends up in this nosedive going straight down at about 650 miles an hour, and there's nothing he can do to pull out of it. So he's like, yeah, usually when you hit the ejection seat, you climb. You go up, you climb, the plane, you try to stall the plane out and then bail out because it's going slower. Right. Well, at 650 miles an hour, he said he hit the ejection seat, the canopy came off, the seat ejected. He said when the wind hit him, it broke every bone in his body.
Yeah, the force of him, yes.
Yeah, like just hitting, like just going into a wall of air.
The jet going that fast downward, and then him ejecting it, and he's not like leveled. So he's immediately being pulled the opposite direction.
Yep, you go from 650 miles an hour forward to 0 miles an hour
in
backwards.
That harness. Oh yeah, sternum, all of that.
Oh yeah, cracked every bone, broke every bone in his body. He's like, I landed in the water, so I couldn't swim. My life vest, thankfully, auto-inflated. He's like, then they got me out of there. It was one of the more harrowing tales I've ever heard. And he was like, yeah, it was a training exercise gone wrong. Like, And you're like, fuck,
It's
that's a
like
48.
something that happened in like the first 20 minutes of Top Gun 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's like $48 million plane gone. Every bone in my body broken. Am I even going to survive this? Who knows? Like, you land in the water and you're like, all right, cool. I made it. I'm alive. Oh, here come the sharks. Fuck. Can't defend myself against those. Probably bleeding from everywhere too. That's not good. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, he ended up surviving. But like, yeah, you can't just jump out of a plane like at any old
No.
speed and be like, yeah, cool, man. Like, it's not, Harrison Ford's not going to kick you out the back and he'd be like, get off my plane. Like,
No, exactly. As awesome as that is, that notion. That's why when you go skydiving, it's not that high. It's not at commercial airline or fucking.
Yeah, like I don't even know how
traveling
long
heights.
you would have to free fall in order to like be able to breathe either. Like, because the air up there is so thin. Like, if you pull the chute too quick, I think you'll just suffocate.
Well, yes, exactly.
Which would be like such a bummer. Imagine that, like you escape the crashing plane, but then you get too anxious and you rip your chute too quick, and then you just suffocate on the way down. Fuck!
Right.
Like, this sucks. I made it. All
I
I had to do was wait. I just had to wait. Like, what the fuck? But that's
Exactly.
that's such a dude mentality though. Like,
I'm gonna do it.
like we always think like we can survive anything. Like that poll that I think Barstool did a couple like a year ago or so, when they were like, what percentage of men like feel confident that they could land a plane in an emergency? And it was like 51% of men think they could land a commercial jetliner if they had to. And it's like, and I'm like, well, yeah, of course I could. I could definitely do that. I mean, it might not be pretty, but I could do it. Like, especially if I got the headset on and somebody like talking me through it, like how to do it. Like, I played video games.
I'm not
I
saying I could do it, but I try.
I feel pretty confident that I could do it.
But
I've played enough Flight Simulator. I think I could handle it.
Oh, I haven't. I don't give a shit about those games. But I know plenty of people that have. Oh, some people, yeah, that's how they learned.
Well, my brother's such a nerd. He downloaded Flight Sim for Xbox, and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna fly from LAX to Boston, 6-hour flight." And it's literally like you get up, you get to cruising altitude, and it's like, all right, 5 hours and 45 minutes to go. And you're just staring out a windshield at nothing. Yeah. And I'm like, really? He's like, I was like, so what'd you do? He's like, well, I just, put it on autopilot, went to the bar, had some drinks, came home.
It's a 1-to-1 simulation.
Yeah, came home, landed it, and I was done. I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty stupid. He's like, yeah, it kind of was.
I should be doing this professionally with a real plane. If that's all
but it's like, I'm like, can you like throw some kinks in there? Like some shit goes wrong, like hit some turbulence, like pressure loss in the cabin or something.
Yeah, like a kaiju fucking Godzilla shows up.
Yeah, you fly over and like, whatever Gypsy 7 or something's fighting fucking 3-horn rhinoceros dinosaur thing, and you got to invade and do some cool shit. Like, I was like the Sky. You remember the Sky King? When he stole that plane out of Seattle.
Oh,
the guy that was suicidal. Like, still like one of like. I have the flag downstairs. It's like, see you, space cowboy, and it's just the silhouette of the plane.
Oh, the audio for while he was doing that too is like
super sad.
It is, but it's also kind of uplifting in a little way because he's having like the best time because he knows it's his last time.
Yeah.
So
he's like, I'm free, right? He's like, I'm flying and I'm free, and I'm about to be truly free.
Yeah, and he's like, oh shit, I could get in a lot of trouble for this, huh? Like,
yeah. And then like you see like the F-15s like being scrambled to like shoot him down. He's like, I'm not gonna hurt nobody, man. I just got a couple of screws loose. Like, dude, like what? Like that was, and the whole the reason why he passed.
Do a barrel roll.
Yeah, and they were like, and I remember the guy being like in the plane being like, holy shit, he did it.
He did it.
They're like, oh my god, I didn't know that plane was capable of that.
His second to last descent, he skimmed the water by like 10 feet.
10 feet. They were like, he missed crashing by about 10 feet.
They're like, that's a maneuver. Like that's a pro maneuver right there.
Yep. And that was his famous line was like, I don't know, man. I played plenty of video games. I could figure it out.
Yeah.
What a legend. What a legend.
Absolute legend. Like, yeah.
one of my favorite stories. Like, I was at 2018. 2019 that happened.
To me, it seems like that happened like 15 years ago. But
I know, like we may as well have been in high school at that point. Like I forget, I still forget that like Paul Walker died 11 years ago, and that was 10 years after I graduated high school.
Well, he died doing what he loved the most.
Burning?
Yeah, burning and on fire and screaming.
Yes.
That's what he loved.
Well, he died doing what he loved.
It's about family.
You know what's stronger than family? That guardrail.
Yeah.
Flames and fire. Stronger than family.
Yeah, like inertia and...
Inertia's a bitch. Gets you every fucking time. You know? Wish I'd paid more attention in physics class because, holy shit, could have learned a thing or two.
It all makes, you and, other people, like the ones that think that Earth is flat still. I forgot to make a hat. I'm going to have a hat for next episode, Joe. It's the new Dunce hat. It's going to be a tinfoil thing.
I like where this is going.
And yeah, it's meant for a certain someone.
Yeah. So say, my Earth isn't round. Not my Earth.
She does not my and she doesn't like science at all either, but she openly admits to having Botox injections, which is,
pretty scientific.
And it's also literally botulism. That's what Botox is. Yeah. I
won't go into it. I could launch into a tirade about Botox because I feel like so many girls ruin themselves with it, but neither here nor there. They're not my wives. They're not my girlfriends, so I really don't have to care. But at the end of the day, just there is something to be said for aging naturally and gracefully as a woman.
As a person, really. But I
think that too. I wasn't even looking at it. I wasn't even looking at it from that deep of a level.
You're just like, as a woman, just age gracefully, you fucking dirty bitch.
Yeah, just stop doing whatever it is you're doing.
It hasn't worked since high school. You think it's happening now at 40. It's not. I can tell you so. But yes, I think we should move on to the actual topics at hand. So I guess if we're going chronologically, it would be the New Orleans one, right?
Yeah, so New Orleans happened New Year's Eve. I believe the Trump Tower one was New Year's Day.
Yes.
If my memory serves me correctly.
And that's just us talking about that. We didn't even mention last time the woman being burned alive on the New York subway.
Oh my God, that's right. I forgot about that. But Kathy Hochul told me the subways were safe. She even went and took selfies of herself riding on the subways. It reminds me of when Nancy Pelosi told everybody to go hug a Chinese person and go to Chinatown and get Chinese food.
Yeah, don't be a racist. Go hug a Chinese person. No,
don't be a bigot.
But also, the rest of the government at the time is telling us, including her, don't hug anybody. Like, stay home.
Well, no, this is before they said that. This is before they realized what side they wanted. They hadn't figured out what side they wanted to be on yet. They were like, wait a minute. Do we want to be on the side that promotes this thing or the side that locks everything down? And they're like, wait a minute. Lockdowns. That's how we're going to steal the election. Fuck it.
Yeah, are we going to...
Buy masks. Stand 6 feet apart. Fauci, sick him.
DD Mao round eye.
Yeah. Look at me. I'm American. I'll charge it to my credit card.
Hey. Okay, USA. Actually, that was the Japanese guy, I think, but in Bloodsport. But
yeah, 6-1.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like Hank Hill said. So, are you Chinese or Japanese? I'm from Rouse. So, are you Chinese or Japanese?
We the ocean. You're from the ocean? That's Bill. Who's which ocean?
Yeah.
From the ocean? No.
Dude, my Family Guy. King of the Hill had so many underrated fucking one-liners.
Yeah.
Like when Bobby got caught drinking beer and they're trying to reprimand him for it, and he's like, "What? I didn't even like it." And Hank's just like, "Well, now you're just trying to piss me off."
Yeah, we brought that episode up last week. Actually,
did we?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I still think that's still one of my favorite fucking things ever because it's Like it's like imagine like you find out like your kid's smoking weed and like you're a huge like weed person like like our parents probably all are and were, and they're like you're like what, I don't even like it, and they're like, all right, well now you're just fucking lying to me, like just shut up, like we all know you liked it, you little shit, like doesn't mean I want you doing it. It's just so relatable to me. I don't know, I just love that.
No, I get it, and actually, yeah, King of the Hill has more longevity to me than like Family Guy. Family Guy ran its course for me after like maybe like 5 or 6 seasons.
See, Family Guy stayed funny to me up until I'd say like 5 or 6 years ago, and then they like South Park said they ran out of material. You know what I mean? Like you can only you can only
it might have been because of South
randomly
Park that
reference so many things.
That is all that they are.
And when it works, it works.
Oh,
yeah,
and I love non sequitur jokes and nonsense.
Non sequitur.
Yes, non sequitur.
Funny bot is not compute.
Exactly, but to a degree. But that's all that it became after a while. And
what killed Family Guy for me, like South Park actually killed Family Guy for me.
Yeah,
because when they pointed out that that's all they did, like I had gone along with it for so long because it was funny.
Yeah, it fucking ruined it for me.
Yeah, and then Family Guy, sorry, I missed that. And then Family Guy like ruined. South Park just like completely gutted them for it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that kind of is all they do, huh?
It's that formulaic, but it's maybe not manatees, but
when it works, it works, and it works great. But when they miss, like, oh man, it's like, oh, that was a dud. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like, and then you start looking for it after the South Park episode, and you're like, yeah, that was a miss. Yeah, that was a miss.
And what makes it more egregious is because like you can get away with that being a thing, like, oh, it was a flub if it's a show like SNL where it's live, and SNL has not been funny for a long time, but this is an animated show that. This is an animated show that has just as many writers and also way more time to produce this episode. You can change some audio if you need to, and they still thought that was good.
Yeah, like I did appreciate Family Guy for like when they do those like niche jokes that are only meant for like 100 people. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're one of those 100, you're like, dude, that was fucking hilarious. Like, oh my God, I love that.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you're if you're one of the other millions of people that don't get it, you're like, huh? I don't get that. So like they did do a lot of that, like very niche jokes, which I thought was very funny and and it was cool at times, and I did dig it. But like I said, when they missed, and when they flopped, it flopped hard. And then the episodes started becoming like more hit or miss as the years went on. And they had to try new things and like explore new avenues with the characters. Like that one episode where like Stewie is like in the like the shrink's office, and he's laying on the couch, like just talking. Like that episode fucking sucked. Like I almost wanted to write Seth MacFarlane and be like, dude, you owe me 20 minutes of my life back. What the fuck was that? Like it was so bad. You know what? I've never said that about South Park. I've never once said, watch a South Park episode and been like, that was a waste of my time. Never. Not once. Like, ask me what I was watching. Old ones. No, the old ones are fucking classics, dude. Like, I watched Korn's Groovy Pirate Mystery the other day. Like, still fucking slaps. You know what I mean? And like, ask me what I was watching today while we were getting dinner ready. South Park reruns. Like, it's
Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride.
Big Gay Bath. Yeah, Big Gay Al's Big Gay Bathhouse and Sparky the Dog. And dude, it was just like there was so many classic episodes, and then the new ones are still even funnier.
Gay geese.
Oh, silly gooses. Like I fucking love Big Gay Al, one of my favorite gay characters of all TV shows.
Because he's gay, and he is Big Gay Al. But other than that, he's not
Big
like
Gay Al is just the best fucking name.
But he's not like, oh, you have to accept me because I'm Big Gay Al. He's just like, I'm Big Gay Al.
Right. Here I am. Do what you will with me.
And yeah, he's a flaming homosexual as a
but
character.
A funny one.
But also not an asshole about it either. He's just like, yes, I'm gay. Everybody knows it. That's it.
And these are cafe curtains. They require no sewing. We all know how much you love that. Like, and then the whole like, then they introduce Mr. Slave, and then he's with Big Gay Al, and it's just, dude, it gets so good.
Well,
over
Mr.
time.
Slave, yes. Well, Mr. Slave was Garrison's first.
Yeah, but remember towards like after like Garrison and Slave,
Later,
like when
yeah.
Garrison becomes a woman, Mr. Slave leaves him and ends up dating Big Gay Al.
Yep.
You're like, oh.
The continuity
like,
of the show is great.
He's like, you can't be with him. You're fucking queers. And he's like, oh my God, why would you say that? You were gay just yesterday. He's like, yeah, but I'm a woman now.
The best is when he gets his balls back.
Yeah.
Like, I realize that I was never a woman. I'm just a man. And then
Better get an AIDS test, Thompson. Your wife's a dude, faggot.
Faggot. Yep, you said it.
Dude, one of the most classic outros of any
And
show.
then I'm back,
ever.
and then jumps up.
Yeah.
With a freeze frame with the mouse.
Yep. And then everyone else is like moving around him. Like, how is he doing that? Like,
it's that's
that was Eek a Penis. That was a fucking great episode.
I think I do have that one on DVD. I still need to check.
I have them all. The only one I don't have the most recent seasons on DVD because they don't do the commentary on the DVD anymore, which is
So
why I used to buy them.
Yeah.
And they don't do it anymore, so I stopped buying them. Plus, DVDs are like a dead technology now. Like no one owns DVD players anymore. Like
I do
built
buy some 4Ks every once in a while.
Most expensive computer I've ever bought behind me. It doesn't even have a CD drive on it or a disc drive of any kind.
My computer, which is also probably not as much as yours, but a good one. No disc drive.
Yeah, I spent about $5,000 on this thing. So it's about as good as money could buy a year ago. I think a year ago today, or a year ago yesterday, I finished it, putting it together. Nice. And I was actually looking at some upgrades for it. I'm looking at like new keyboards and mice. And because I won a bunch of money on Sunday because the Broncos hit 10 wins on the season, so I won $1,000. And so I'm like, ooh, what can I buy for like upgrades? And I'm like, well, I need a new mouse, so I might as well buy a new mouse and keyboard. And some more RAM would be nice because you never have enough of that. But I was looking at all sorts of fun stuff. So I'm like putting more money into it. I'm like, yes, more.
Mm-hmm.
But the
initial cost is what is the fucking downside.
Yeah, especially when you get that fucking 4090 graphics card and you're like, oh, that's $2,000. Like, sweet. Yeah, I was hoping to be bent over and pounded in my anus today.
I don't even know what my graphics card is. It's not that good of a one, but
this one's significantly better than my last one, so I know that. I mean, it's 4090 was the best on the market until about 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, see, I can't keep up with that shit.
Now NVIDIA's released the 50 series, and I'm like, God damn it, next computer. But no, this one should last me at least a good 5-6 years. Nice. Probably more if I let it, but I know me, in 5-6 years I'll be like, but wait, I can build a newer one? I think I'll just do that.
Why not?
Because why not? Because It's fun. That's why. It's fun. But anyway, New Year's Eve shit. Let's talk about some fucked up shit because
somebody else said why not and decided to do some shit.
Yeah, so 15 people get mowed over on Bourbon Street in New Orleans on New Year's Eve by some former U.S. military who became a radicalized Islamic or ISIS member. Decides to run over, just cruise down the street at about 80 miles an hour, just hitting people in his path like it's, the Die Hard with a Vengeance video game or Grand Theft Auto.
In an electric rental truck.
Yep. I have so many questions about this one because especially when they trotted out the police chief from New Orleans.
Yeah.
And it was like this 68-year-old woman with like purple wireframe glasses and like a short bob cut of like completely gray hair. I was like, what the fuck does that lady know?
It was reminiscent of Beetlejuice,
about law enforcement.
The Chicago mayor. Remember her?
Oh yeah. Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm like
pretty close.
I'm like, this is a joke, right? Like she's not actually the chief. And they're like, nope. She's actually the chief of police.
This is a puppet,
I'm like, come
right?
on. And then you find out that they had installed those hydraulic barriers at the ends of the street so that like after this happened, because I think this happened in Germany a couple of years ago, like at an open air market. And they were like, how can we stop this?
Yes.
Like, well, you can put these barriers in. They're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's put those in. Like, you know, New Year's Eve, Bourbon Street, bowl games. Like, you know, New Orleans is a pretty poppin' place. So they decided to put them in. But for whatever reason, they decided against raising them on New Year's Eve, which makes absolutely no sense. I'd love to know whose job that was and whose decision, like who ultimately made the decision to not do that.
Somebody really dropped the ball on that one, didn't they? Like, what the fuck
Pun
is that?
intended?
Yes, absolutely. Pun intended.
But yeah, no. But 15 fucking innocent people were slaughtered for no reason. You know, like because this fucking guy did it, and you know he did it to, you know, because fuck the non-believers and blah 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 and Islam, and we all know it's the religion of peace. Except it's not anything close to that, and you know it is absolutely the religion of the death and destruction. But you know, don't tell that to.
It's certainly as an agnostic, I was raised Catholic and everything. Went to St. Mary's right down the street from where we grew up. Altar boy and everything. Nothing happened though because all our priests back then were just alcoholics. They no diddlers.
That's a pleasant change of pace.
Right. So yeah, they just kind of drank by themselves. But as somebody who doesn't really believe in anything,
is this really the blood of Christ? Holy crap! This guy must have been wasted.
Wasted it all the time. Yeah. As somebody who, I don't really care, but they are certainly the most violent when it comes to using their religion currently as an excuse.
Absolutely.
For anything.
I mean, religion has been
Typically,
used
otherwise it's more nationalistic, like we're our country, we're defending ourselves, or going after you because we are this country. It's not so much religious based anymore, except when it's these people that are involved primarily.
Right. And every time, like, and I don't know, like, you know, Christianity had like, you know, their dark ages, and then like they came into the light ages or whatever. Like I forget exactly the term for it, but whatever it was. But like they had like a reformation on Christianity, and they were like, hey, you know what we're gonna stop doing? Like raping, murdering, and conquering people in the name of Christianity. Like we're just not gonna do that anymore. Like we're gonna spread the word of Christ without all the killing and all the shit, right? So they did. You know, Judaism, same thing. They're like, yeah, we're still going to steal your fucking money and hoard the Jew gold, but, you know, we're not going to, you know, be as loud about it, you know, and in your face. Sorry, my Jewish friends would be like, they're like, you're an asshole. Like, I know. Yeah. But, you know, every other religion in the world, it seems, has kind of like transformed into something like that's more of a, you know, it's, like you still get your holy rollers, don't get me wrong, and you know, hey, more power to them, man. Like you want to, that's what you want to do, like with your life, then by all means you do it. Me, I'm not an overly religious person. I mean, I consider myself a fairly spiritual person. I do believe in an afterlife, and I do believe there's something after this because some of the things I've seen and experienced in my life you just can't explain with rationale or logic or science. And the only reasonable explanation I have is that there is something beyond this, whatever that is. I don't know. Whoever, you know, I don't know.
That's exactly how I feel about it. I can't say it's this, that, or another thing. Something. We are made of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. It goes somewhere else. It gets dispersed.
Right. So there is something. There is something beyond this. I believe that, but
I just don't know what. So I won't say it's this or it's that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go. And I'm not going around telling people like, if you don't believe the same thing I believe, you are going to fucking hell, sir. Like
you better believe this Jew.
Yeah, like
walked on the water and then handed out endless buckets of shrimp. All right.
And did you know this Jew was a carpenter before he became a prophet? Well, man, he could raise a barn in 30 minutes. They say, you know, like I don't know why he's Amish now, but whatever. You know, like I don't believe in necessarily that, but like it always comes back to the same thing. And like I've read like parts of like I've never read the Quran, but I've read up on the Quran and I've read books about Islam and nationalist Islamic
You get the gist
Islamic
of it.
nationalists. Jesus Christ, Joe, get your shit together. It's gonna be the muscle relaxers kicking in because I can't really feel my shoulder right now, so that's good. But they it always seems to come back to the same thing with these people, and it's kill the non-believers, and like it literally fucking says it in their text, in their shit. Like if you don't believe in Muhammad and you're not a Muslim and a devout one at that, then you need to be exterminated. Like there is no mincing
Zero
of words
tolerance.
when it comes to that. Yeah, and they act it out, like they play it out every day in their own countries. Like it's just how they are. Like, and then they bring it here and we're like, oh, diversity is our strength. And I'm like, we sure about that? I don't know if I'm really sure about that. Like I look at Poland and diversity is definitely not their strength, but their strength is definitely like high testing scores, well-educated populace, low crime, high,
Polish
high
jokes don't
prosperity.
make sense anymore because Poland is based as fuck.
Yeah, Poland is based as fuck. You know who else is based as fuck too? Uganda, but that's another thing. Being like, I could go into some shit.
You gotta
like,
be kidding me.
Why are you gay? But no, they
transgender.
Yeah, a transgender. How do you know I am gay? You are gay. You are very
you
gay.
Fulfilling the
Do you use a carrot?
Obligations.
A cucumber?
Oh no, they eat the poo poo. That's a different video, but
what fucking classic videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Poland's based as fuck. But like, I don't know, like when you see like every single time, and then what pisses me off, right, is like ever since 9/11, we've been like, no, you can't be Islamophobic. Like that's the worst thing in the world. And it's like, like, do you know if you go back to September 12th, 2001 until now, Muslims have killed like 72 people, and I'm like, yeah, but like rewind, like push that
September
date,
11th when there's 3,000.
yeah, push that date back one day, and it's like still 300 times more than every other religion. Like you can't
And
just
also,
omit the biggest thing they did because you're trying to make a point.
And also that there's no way that number that they said was that low.
Maybe I think they were thinking like, yeah, like it's they probably like cherry pick some stats and were like, well, if you only look in like the United States of America and confirmed Islamic terror and blah 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 blah, and it's like, yeah, we all know how that goes. Like stats can be, I can make any stat or number say whatever I want it to say.
Yeah. So this guy was apparently like a ISIS, at least following.
He was he was a radicalized Muslim. He was former military. Allegedly.
Yep, same as
which the other guy, the Trump Tower Tesla guy, is a lot more sketchy than this one, because this one they have a body, they saw it, like they found the ISIS flag in the truck. And what pisses me off is, like I said, like, you can't say like, oh, you can't say it. Don't be Islamophobic, man. It's not all Muslims. It's like,
no, it isn't.
No, you're right. It's like not all Muslims are terrorists, but like almost all terrorists are Muslims. So, I don't know how you want me to like fucking paint that, but it is what it be, bruh. Like I'm not making up these numbers, man. Like the statistics are there. Like you do choose how you want to read them, but or if you want to read them or not. But they, you can't choose how you want to read them. So
in the post 9/11 era, yes, it is. I'd say probably, I don't have the numbers here right now, but I'd say statistically, as far as those kind of acts and attacks, mostly that it's, again, not to say that it isn't done by other.
Right. I mean, look at the kid,
but,
the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. Like, kid was a radicalized Muslim. Trying to think if there was a couple other ones that are escaping me now.
There was the other one who was also, he shot up the gay nightclub and was also gay himself.
Wasn't that Pulse? Wasn't that the Pulse nightclub?
I think that might have also been Pulse. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was. I think that was the same one. But no, like, well, what pisses me off is the way the media reports on it, and I think I alluded to this in our little back and forth earlier on Facebook with one of which I find funny because like I clicked on her profile and it was like add friend, and I was like, ooh, got another one, nice.
Ooh, and it's you got a big one. You got a big.
I won't even go there. But yeah, I was like, okay, that's cool. I have a whole thread too. I could show you. I screenshotted between a bunch of her friends, like mutual friends from a couple months ago. They told me I had fragile masculinity. And they were like, yeah, they're like, oh, what's the matter? Your fragile masculinity showing through. And I'm like, fragile masculinity. I'm like, dog, you got a neck beard and you go to Disney like 4 times a year as an adult and you don't have kids. Like, I don't think you.
Who's actually fragile here?
Yeah, I don't think you know what masculinity is. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway,
yeah, definitely not.
But what pisses me off, I can show you the pictures too, because I screenshotted a bunch of stuff. I keep receipts for everything. But what pissed me off about this whole story was like, like you turn on ESPN and they're like, oh, the Sugar Bowl has been postponed till Thursday due to a truck attack in New Orleans. And I'm like, It wasn't a truck attack. A truck didn't just wake up that morning and be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fuck everybody's day up. No, it was a radical Muslim, Islamic-based terror attack. Call it what it is. Stop pussyfooting around the fucking facts. Like, that's what chaps my ass about this stuff, is because people are like afraid to call it what it is for whatever reason. They're like, well, you can't call it a terrorist attack because that's Islamophobic. And I'm like, I'm not afraid of Muslims. I mean, maybe I should be, because obviously they're willing to run their fucking cars through, crowded areas, and not care who they hit or kill.
But they also, these same people want to call January 6th a terrorist attack.
And we all know the type of person they are, Trav. We all know which way they vote. We all know what way they go. Yeah.
It's all so tiresome.
We just start connecting the dots, and we're like, okay, I can assume. Like, they say never assume, but I'm like, no, I'm going to assume. I'm going to assume a lot, actually.
Joey, you can assume all you want about me, but I swear I'm educating the children.
Yeah.
I'm doing so good.
And that's the other thing too, is like, it's scary that like somebody who thinks like that is actually put in a position of authority over children.
Yeah.
And their job is to educate children. Now, I think the children she's educating are too young for that type of material, which is good. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I don't know what she's teaching, but
I think it's like
the fact that she's teaching Eddie, but I hope so.
Just I think it's very.
They're not going to remember any of that.
It's very young children. But like, if she was like a sixth grade or up teacher, I'd be like, I got a problem with this. Like, if I found out, like, if my kid came home and was like, oh, my teacher said X, Y, and Z, like, this is why I don't have kids. You know what I mean? Because like, if I came home, like, if I ever found out like my kid was in like 4th grade or 5th grade and caught like an in-school suspension or got reprimanded for like misgendering a transgender kid or some shit like that because they were making fun of it. Bro, I like to say that I would turn that place into Columbine 2.0 in about 30 seconds. Like, there ain't going to be no discussions, dog. Like, no. Y'all just need to be cleaned out. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what, and I could go on a rant, and it's not all teachers, but man, teachers are one of the teachers are one of the professions that I have a very I find I have a very big beef with a lot of them. You know what I mean? Like, especially during the COVID shit, when they were all like, oh, we can't go back to school. It's so dangerous. And like, man, my God, da da da. Meanwhile, I work in a fucking prison with, 1,300 inmates.
There's
COVID running. COVID is running through it like it was born in Kenya, and I'm going to work. Not only am I'm required to be there. I have no way to protect myself from the disease, the deadliest disease known to man. And then on top of it, I got 1,300 inmates that would probably rather see a fucking knife stuck in my neck than anything else. And guess what happened? Shit got wild, bro. Like, we go to work and do, I'm not going to call it a dangerous job, but it's a dangerous job.
You have a higher risk than most people do.
Yeah.
That are in that profession, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, so I look at these people who are teachers and they're like, I don't want to go to school because, oh my God, COVID and this and that. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, you work basically a 9 to 5 job. You have weekends and holidays off. You get summers off. all this vacation off. You basically just continue the schedule that you had for the first 12 to whatever 16 years of your semi-adult life or your life. Like, you just keep that schedule going forward. And then, I have to grade papers when I go home. Like, oh no, guess what I have to do all day at work? Work. Like, I have to do shit too. It's called work. Like, no fucking kidding. Like, you have to do shit at home. Yeah, like, all right. And if you don't want to grade papers when you go home, fucking do it in school then. I'm sure you got a free period. But no, you're probably off in the teacher's lounge, funny fucking around, trying to figure out which teacher you want to play grab ass with to see if you can get her husband or get her to cheat on her husband with you. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, fuck off. Like, no, like, I don't know. And it's not all teachers, because I do know a couple that are really good and they're really awesome. But man, I have a fucking problem with that profession.
The teachers that I do know personally that I consider friends are great people and also great teachers.
Same.
Now, the other people that I know that are also teachers, I can't say the same about.
I see them post on social media, and like, it was especially prevalent during COVID because they're like, keep the schools closed. And even though it's like, why? And they're like, well, because it's dangerous to go back. And you're like, brother, I've been working this whole fucking time. What do you think? Your job is more dangerous than mine somehow? Like, no, you deal with children, literal children. I deal with
buckets of
men
disease that
who
live
act
in people's
like children, who
houses.
have the mental capacity of somebody younger than the kid you're teaching. Oh, and they're sociopathic, and they're fucking, they're homicidal. Like, no, like, your job is not hard. Fuck off.
It's not the same.
No, it's not. And not to say mine is hard. Mine's hard if I want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. But it can be.
There's
fucking it can be. The beautiful thing about being a teacher is, and like, and one of my buddies said this because he had gotten into a beef with a bunch of his wife's friends who were teachers, and they were bitching and complaining about COVID and having to work and all this other stuff. And he's like, I had to work the whole fucking time. He goes, you know what fucking sucks about it? He goes, have you ever been walking to the door at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon, going home for your weekend, and the principal steps out of his office and is like, hey, so-and-so, just kidding. We got night school tonight and you got to stay. We have nobody to teach it. You got to teach it. What do you mean? Well, you're next on the list and we got nobody, so you got to stay. He goes, that shit happens at our job all the time. It happened to me last week. I was walking out the door 11 o'clock on my Friday. I was done I was done. I'm walking out the gate. I almost get to the punch clock and my captain says, hey, you're staying. We had a no call, no show. You're next on the list. Go back inside. And I'm like, fuck. Okay. Nothing you can do. It just is what it is.
That doesn't
happen. That doesn't happen with teachers. So now instead of going home at 11 o'clock, now I'm leaving at 7 a.m. the next day because I had to sit there and stay and stare into a cell with a con who, was on a eyeball watch, as they call him, because he said some mildly upsetting things to the mental health specialist. And the mental health specialist was like, ooh, I think he's suicidal. We're like, no, he's just doing it for attention. He does this all the time. Yeah, but like, I can't just do that because then if something happens, it's my ass. And I'm like, cool. So you're going to cost us. So now we need to draft one body per shift just to cover this fucking post now, which was non-existent 2 hours ago, but because you decided it needed to be, here we are. Again, it's part of the job. I get it. But like, teachers don't deal with that. Teachers don't have to worry about, a con coming out of a fucking cell with razor blades between his knuckles and taking a swing at you for no reason.
They get snow days called way in advance now. Remember when we were kids and we'd have to listen
don't
to
even
radio?
Get me fucking started. They cancel school for cold now. It's going to be cold. They're going to cancel school. Why? School's indoors. You can't go to school if you have to have indoor recess? We did that shit all the time when it was shitty out.
But the pipes might burst.
Oh, God, the pipes.
Cold. Yeah, the pipes.
Yeah, because because we can't adequately heat a fucking school anymore. Jesus Christ. Fucking spare me. Like, well, we don't want the kids waiting for the buses outside. Cool, so let their fucking parents bring them to the bus stop and sit in the car and stay warm until the bus gets there like we used to. Like we used to do that shit all the time. I remember sitting in the bus stop, because yours was right down the street from mine.
Yep.
And like we'd sit up at the bus stop in our parents' cars or one of our parents' cars, me, Ryan, Brandon, Lindsay, Jill, like we'd all sit in the car just waiting, for the bus to show up. And then the bus would show up, we get out of the cars, our parents would leave. Bye. Okay, we didn't have to wait in the cold.
Yeah, mine was
school canceled for
at
that
least
shit.
close enough where I could run out to it if I was running late, which happened often.
I remember that, yeah. More than a few times I remember you like booking it out of the house, chasing the bus down.
But it was right there. So yeah, I didn't have to wait in a car, but yes. Yeah, we didn't have to, dude. It would have to be at least like a foot or two for us to not have school.
Dude, we had to get a pretty serious storm to cancel school.
It would have to be physically on the ground at least in the morning already.
Oh yeah. Whereas like nowadays they're like, ooh, it might snow this afternoon, and that would really fuck up the ride home. So we're just gonna cancel school altogether. Like what? And then it's like rain, and like you canceled school for this. Yeah. You know who the biggest losers in that situation are is the teachers, because the teachers are the only ones that like actually
have to get ready.
Like, well, not only that, but like they're the ones that like they're aware of like, okay, if we have no snow days, we're done June 17th.
Yeah, early.
And then it's like Sunday.
Day.
Yep. And then it's like, oh fuck, we got 2 snow days. Now we're not done till June 19th. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like now I gotta shift my summer plans. Like they're the biggest losers.
I can't book that cruise.
I can't do anything until I know how many snow days we're gonna get.
Yeah, who knows? Because the school system's fucked, and they'll call it off over nothing.
Right, and then God forbid you have like a Boston Marathon bombing or something like that, and they're like, schools are closed for today, and you're like, wait, why? Like, well, because it's scary. Like, yeah, but like it was all the way up in Boston. Like we're down here. Like, why do we need to cancel school? So much trauma. Can't go to school.
Yeah, we had 9/11 and we stayed.
Didn't miss a day. We didn't miss a day for 9/11.
Nope.
Yeah, that was significant. But anyway,
the guy with the truck.
Speaking of 9/11, yeah. So Muslim. But it was it's a weird thing because this guy was allegedly from Fort Bragg. And I guess like a lot of these terrorists or these guys, these ex-military guys that are coming out and they're all fucked up are from Fort Bragg. And I guess Fort Bragg is like, I guess for whatever reason, I guess the CIA is very heavy down there. And it makes you wonder, like, is this all part of the mysterious MK Ultra? You know what I mean? Like the CIA boogeyman thing where like the CIA just creates these. Right? They create these soldiers and like they have like, it's like in Zoolander where it's like they play the music and he turns into a homicidal maniac.
Yeah, it's the Manchurian Candidate.
Exactly.
Which is what Zoolander did. Yes, exactly.
Yep. So it's like,
no, do they have that? It's like Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Yeah. It's like, why do they have all of these fucking like? Why is it always like out of Fort Bragg? And the same thing with the Cybertruck guy, allegedly out of Fort Bragg. From what I understand. So
apparently they both
makes you wonder.
Yes, did train there. Apparently there's no connection between them otherwise. Like they didn't attend Fort Bragg at the same time. They were both deployed to Afghanistan, I believe.
Yep. I think you shut your mic off.
Nope. Check.
You hit you sound very tinny now.
God damn.
You hit some sort of setting on there. You hit a button, and then all of a sudden it sounded like you were in a tin can.
Check.
Okay, you're back now.
Does
there it
still sound like I'm in a tin can?
Nope, now you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
All right, yeah, what the fuck was I saying?
We talking about Fort Bragg and these fucking weirdos being from the same base and doing the
So-
same shit.
Yeah, apparently, yes, they both attended Fort Bragg, but at different times. They both served in Afghanistan, but at different times they didn't share a company or a platoon or anything like that. Like, seemingly no connection in that regard, but yes, the Fort Bragg connection, along with the other ones that you mentioned, does seem curious, at the very least.
So, to the Trump Tower one in Vegas with the Cybertruck that was obviously loaded with fireworks for no reason.
He went to, that's I've been waiting to get to this one, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the more fun of the two, obviously, because nobody died in this one. So it's easier to talk about because there's the 15 lives weren't.
Didn't he shot himself
senselessly
in the head,
snuffed
right?
out. What's that?
Didn't he shoot himself in the head?
So allegedly he shot himself in the head with a fucking 50 cal Deagle. All right, he took a Desert Eagle 50 cal and blew his fucking head off. Now,
and then set off the fireworks.
So, or he set off the fireworks and then killed himself as they were going off.
Right.
We don't know the whole story, but there's two trains of thought to this. One, look, if I was going to off myself with a gun, the bigger the caliber, the better, because there's no
make a mess of it.
Well, that and there's no room for error there. Like that thing's going through your head. You're not just going to end up like, semi-conscious with a 9mm stuck in your brain.
It's taking a chunk of your goddamn.
Yeah, or like taking a chunk out of your fucking face or something like that, and you're like, great, now I'm fucking alive.
Enough
and
of your brain where it's gone. Like,
yeah,
there's no like margin for. Yeah, you're dead.
So that's one train of thought, is that like, yep, okay, 50 cal is definitely going to do it. It is definitely going to erase your entire skull. Like there's no, like your head's just going to explode like into a pink mist. The second train of thought is, okay, why would you use a 50 cal? Well, maybe you wanted to make sure that your teeth were so shattered and destroyed that they weren't going to be able to pull, those out of the wreckage
dental records
and identify you for them. That could be one way of, one train of thought in terms of how like you were thinking. That's one way. Other than that, like, the DNA and apparently the DNA that they got from the vehicle didn't match the kid's son, which could mean one of two things. Either the guy did this because his wife, he had a cuck baby, or it wasn't the dad of the son who they're claiming it was. And that guy is still very much alive and well, and this was just a fucking giant false flag fake setup. Like, all right, well, we can't get dental records because the 50 cal he used to blow off his own head, ruined it. Or they blew off his head with a 50 cal, removed all the teeth, stuffed the body in the fucking car, shot, it drove itself there because it can do that because it's a Tesla, parked, and then they just detonated the fireworks in the back and set the thing on fire and burned the body so that there's not enough remains. I mean, I'm all for, Occam's razor and keeping it simple, but like also, if I was going to do something like that seems like a pretty solid way to do it.
It sounds like, have you ever watched the movie, at least the original one, because there's at least two, Smoking Aces?
Oh,
it sounds like it should have happened, like that happened in that movie because of how fucking ridiculous and stupid it is. And how
but you know what though? All those ridiculous and stupid scenarios, those writers didn't come up with them on their own. Like they read that somewhere, saw that somewhere, or heard it somewhere, and then made it into a movie. Like all those things are fucking based, like somehow, some way, based on something real that happened. So, I mean, dude, like the CIA, the FBI, our military, like whatever, like special ops, like all these different little factions and branches, they all have something. Like obviously, like the CIA is the easy one to point to because, they're basically like they lurk in the shadows, and we all saw Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, and how the deep state really works. And I feel like it's something more along those lines than it is, just a pissed off ex fucking military guy who's like, I'm gonna drive one of Elon Musk's vehicles to Trump Tower and blow it up because the symbology.
That's why it all seems so ridiculous to me.
Symbolism.
Hey, what's the symbology behind this? Oh, oh.
So we got a serial head stomper over here.
Yeah, serial
cranium crusher.
Because he's a huge friggin' guy.
Yeah, he's a big dude, really big. It'll be easy to find that way.
You put it out there like that, it's just too ridiculous.
It's too rich. It's too rich.
And this is supposedly a Green Beret. And he's, okay, I get the symbolism if he is truly against Trump.
Don't you mean the symbology?
Well, the symbology. He rents a Cybertruck. So Elon's in bed with Trump, obviously. So blow up a Cybertruck in front of one of Trump's buildings. But it's a Green Beret who set this up, and all he put in it was fireworks that you can get across the border.
Yeah, fireworks and diesel fuel. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
nothing.
Kerosene.
Not legitimate. Not an actual bomb. Like,
right.
It could hurt somebody if they're standing close enough to it, but it's not gonna do any kind of structural damage there. Like Timothy McVeigh did way more with fertilizer and.
Well, that's because Timothy McVeigh had a purpose. I don't think this guy had a purpose, or I don't think this was a purpose.
That's why. Did he actually do it? I'm not saying he was a patsy. I'm not getting. Don't call me Janet Brooks right now. God damn it! This isn't a conspiracy. I'm just saying we don't have enough facts.
Yes, we're gonna apply the 72-hour rule to this one. Hold on, hold that thought. I'm gonna go take a piss. I'll be right back.
You know what? I'm gonna do the same. We'll take a fire.
Okay. Sorry. I was about like 3 seconds away from pissing pant there.
You know what? I needed to do it too. Not as bad as you, I don't think, but it was a welcome interjection by you there. Be like, hey, you know what? That's great. Yeah, I got to pee. I'm like, fantastic.
Hey, samesies. All right. So, Janet, where were you? Sorry.
Yeah. So I can't understand how people can think like that. Granted, you know what I just said about this guy. The jury's still out on everything. It just seems all too suspicious to me, given his
It's just too
background.
convenient, right?
Yes, suspicious, convenient. Like, this is a guy that was a Green Beret. This is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, like he definitely knows his way around, some explosives.
Why would he do it in
You know?
such like a redneck kind of way? Basically?
Unless you were just doing it as a call for attention. Or somebody was setting you up to make it look like
that's
you attempted. But like,
again, don't call me Janet. But I'm leaning in that direction right now, at least when it comes to this.
To me, the Trump Tower one was to me it was a false flag. Like it was just
it was too obvious. Like
but it was like it was so obvious to the point where you're like, okay, it's so obvious to the point, like, okay, who's behind it though? Who did this? Because like, was it some far right people trying to make the left look bad? Was it the left just trying to make the right look bad? Like, who had the most to gain from blowing up basically just destroying a Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower?
It's too on the nose. It's too specific. Yeah, it could go either way. Like,
right?
Is this,
and it's just like,
is this legitimate or was it satire? It meant to.
And I'm not ready to like make any claims on what I think. And like, I listened to the Sean Ryan podcast about the guy who emailed them and all that stuff and like all that wild shit. And the guy was the dude got the email from the manifesto from the guy. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, not saying that they didn't get this, but like, how could you possibly vet this to the point where like, you're like, yeah, this is believable, or like, this is 100% accurate. Like,
I don't know. This is at that point.
I don't think you can either. I think this is one of those ones where like, you just got to kind of like, all right, let's step back. Let's wait for the facts to come out. The real ones. Not the Rachel Maddow or the CNN knee-jerk fucking
all reactionary stuff. Yeah.
The Brian Sicknick was killed, because he was bludgeoned by a fire extinguisher shit. Like, no. Let's wait for the wait till there's some retractions.
Yeah, it turns out Kira and everybody else that's a fucking idiot. Yeah, that didn't happen. So let's wait for this to play out. That's why when you asked me what I thought of, I was like, look, this is what I'm basing this on the facts that the information that we're given right now.
Right, and I'm still waiting on more information to come in before I make any kind of assumptions on this.
Same.
Because again, it's so specific. It's so niche. It's so cliche. Like, there's no way in hell this wasn't done to be an angle of some sort.
It's almost cartoonish in how it was. It's almost like a Tom and Jerry cartoon where Tom goes to Jerry's mouse hole and sets up a fucking very specific thing against Jerry, the mouse. But it's like, because it's that cartoonish of a thing. Like, it's very specific. Oh, it's got his name on it. I'm right at his place.
Right, it's like what's his name? It's like the guys from Home Alone, the wet
Marvin and
and they flood the sinks. It's like, okay, well, if I'm gonna go rob a house, I'm just gonna flood all the sinks after I'm done, and they'll just think it's these guys.
Yeah, because they're the wet bandits.
Yeah, the wet bandits. Like, you're like, no, that's a little too easy, a little too specific.
Yeah, and why would you want people to know where you were, anyways?
I know. It's like our calling card,
I mean, water will wash away any traces that you might have left, like, at least where you flooded it, but only there.
Right. Only there.
You're still getting hit in the head by paint cans. And falling on your ass on micro
Speaking of really good Family Guy clips, the one they're like, Home Alone, but with competent robbers.
Yeah, he's just dead.
Like, hey guys, he's like, be careful, the stairs are really icy back there. Yeah, careful. They heated up that doorknob. It was super hot, but I just let it go afterwards. He's like, you guys better be careful. I got a Red Ryder BB gun and my brother's tarantula, and the guy was like, and just shoots them.
Exactly. But you know what? Those movies,
shortest movie ever.
They were still fun to watch.
They totally were. Wicked fun to watch. but also gave a lot of kids the wrong impression about violent crime and breaking and entering.
But you know what? It was all that those movies were very Looney Tunes inspired.
Oh, hell yeah.
Dude, one of the
100%.
best frames in movie history is Marv when he's being electrocuted, and it's that one or 2 or 3 frames of him as a skeleton.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. Like, it's a gag. It's such a easy gag to do, but it's so funny because of
which
the
produces
context.
one of my favorite like GIF memes afterwards when it was like when she gives you a blowjob and you nut, but she still keeps sucking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Marv.
But those movies, exactly. But those movies are just live action Looney Tunes stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
These ridiculous. It's like Daffy Duck getting his beak blown off by a shot. Like,
right, and he's like, "You realize this means war."
Exactly. Because they don't die.
Right.
So I don't think it should have been taken seriously.
They don't die. They don't even barely get injured.
Almost everything that they went through, dude. One of the most brutal scenes in any movie that I've seen is in that scene when Marv's foot, he steps into the nails.
Oh my god.
They show it.
I know, they really did.
That's a kid's movie.
And he just goes, yoip!
Yeah.
And just falls backwards down the stairs.
He screams like, ah! And then falls down.
It's like, that's enough to kill most people.
Like,
the fall, I mean.
The fall, yes. Absolutely. And they just treat it like, dude, go back and watch that. It's actually, that one part, I do believe you see the nail go through his foot. It's like a prosthetic thing. It's like, holy shit, this is a kid's funny movie that we all laugh at.
The tarantula's crawling on his chest and he just wails at him with a crowbar. I'm like,
yep.
That's the worst thing you could do. Like, just use your hand. It's a spider, not a fucking, it's not a fucking, I don't know, a fucking titanium fucking transformer. Like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, and it's not like a decent sized mammal that's going for his neck.
No, it's a very small target. It's also very soft.
But that's what's even funnier about it.
You could have gotten away with. I mean, you could have got away with a rolled up newspaper.
Because now he's got the spider on him, and now the spider's moving around, and he's getting hit.
Yeah, and he's getting his fucking ribcage collapsed by a crowbar.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if they did like a Mortal Kombat style fucking like remake of Home Alone, where it's like, they do the cutaways and like when they do the fatalities, like
the X-ray,
with the crowbar, you
see the anatomy,
you see the anatomy, and like all the ribs just shatter and like the lungs collapse, and that'd be fucking funny. I could dig that. You know what?
I'm with all the mods that are in those games now, I'm sure somebody probably already did that. It's not official, although the official Mortal Kombat has so many goddamn dumb.
Like, wasn't there like a cast iron? Like, didn't he swing like a cast iron pipe down the stairs? Like, they ducked the paint cans, and like I think it was the second one.
Well, you had the paint cans in the first one. Over the banister.
And then they're like, and then he tries it again in the second one. They're like, we got you. We know what you're up to, you little prick. And then here comes like the fucking cast iron pipe, on from both, just like cleans them both out.
It should have something that decapitated both or. Like cinder blocks with rebar poking out.
Yeah.
Sharpened rebar, too.
Like, Christ almighty.
Kevin McAllister's fucking Rambo.
Yeah.
They drew first blood.
It's like
imagine if they tried to deliver the pizza.
Imagine if they did Home Alone with Kevin McAllister, but instead of Macaulay Culkin being Kevin McAllister, he was the kid from The Good Son.
Oh,
like he was that kid.
The one shooting dogs with a homemade
bolt bolt shooting like crossbow or whatever, which I mean, he shot a pit bull, so I was like, whatever, dude, like, you do you're doing God's work in my opinion, but whatever.
Well, Joey, it's the owners usually that are the problem.
Yes,
you know always. Who those owners are? They're like 13% of the population.
Actually, it's funny. Like, I saw a video today of a pit bull attacking its owner again in the UK, and killed him. And it's always like these middle class white people, and I'm like, I don't understand like what your flex is trying to own one of these dogs. Like, yeah, sure, like I'm sure you can own plenty of them, and they're fine, and it's gonna be good. But I use this now. I got in this argument at work with somebody the other day, and I was like, if AR-15s were responsible for 70% of the gun deaths in this country, I could very well see an argument for being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have these guns because they're responsible for 70% of the fatal shootings in this country. Like, for one reason or another, whatever it is, this gun always ends up being the one to kill people. Maybe because it's just inherently more lethal, it's easier to use. I don't know what the reason could be.
Well, I mean,
but
people do make that argument.
If anything is responsible for 70% of the fatal encounters with it, I think you kind of figured out like that thing is the problem, not the surroundings or anything around it. Because I've seen pit bulls that were raised with like other dogs. They lived in a family of 5 and they maul the grandmother and the 2 kids to death. And I've seen, the rogue pit bulls that just go ape shit on the guy who, holds them up in a kennel because he's fighting them on the weekends. You know what I mean? And starving them and treating them like shit. Yep. Like, I've seen it both ways, and listen, I'm just saying.
Well, that's why I respect your opinion on it, because you do know both sides of it. Like, I've never been a pit bull owner. I've been around a bunch myself.
Listen, one of my favorite dogs I ever met when I was in sales was a pit bull. Her name was Penelope, and she was an absolute fucking doll. And I loved her. She was the cutest dog. Big white pit bull, probably like 90, 95 pounds, cuddle bug, wicked cute, super pretty, like very fun, like loving dog, whatever. It's all fun and games until that dog decides it doesn't like you or it doesn't like what you just did, and that switch gets flipped and you die.
Yeah.
And then people are like, well, Chihuahuas are the most aggressive dogs or Yorkies are the most aggressive dogs. They bite more than any other dog. I'm like, cool. But if a Chihuahua bites me, I go like this and it's gone.
Exactly.
If a pit bull bites me, I'm missing a chunk of my calf before I even get a chance to know it's biting me.
This is exactly what I was about to say. And this is why I agree with you on this. It's because of what that animal is capable of.
Right.
A pit bull is physically more capable of doing any really bad damage.
And believe me, there's plenty of dogs that are just as capable of doing just as much damage as any pit bull.
Yeah.
If not more, like German Shepherds, Cane Corsos, which are kind of pit bulls, but not really. Rottweilers, Dobermans, even like bigger Huskies, Akitas. Yeah. Anything in a Mastiff breed, Rhodesian Ridgebacks are fucking terrifying. Yeah. All those dogs are perfectly capable of killing a human being. Yeah, but like you don't turn on the news and see, oh, there was a fatal dog attack in Toronto today, and you're like, oh, well, guess what kind of dog was it? And they're like, oh, it was actually it was a pack of Pekingese. Like,
well, nope. To be fair to the pit bulls, all those other dogs breeds that we just named are not nearly as common as pit bulls or their derivatives. That being said, though,
depends on who you ask, because if you ask a pit bull apologist, they'll be like, well, that pit lab mix isn't a Staffordshire Terrier, it's a mix, so it's not a pit bull or whatever. Like they basically shift the goalposts however they deem necessary.
Well, yeah, because
you can always find the one common denominator. And again, 70% of fatal dog attacks, fatal, I'm talking fatal, the ones that kill people.
Yes.
70% of them annually are carried out by the same type of dog or it has that portion of a dog in it.
And this is why I agree with you, because I have to, because statistics don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
I'm pretty sure like golden retrievers and labs are the most popular dogs on the planet. And neither one of those, I don't think either one of those have registered a fatal dog attack in 10, 15 years.
Probably not. I mean,
unless you count the pit bull that's a lab mix.
Right, exactly. But then you can attribute it to that, and
correct.
That's neither here nor there. I mean, it's clear, obviously, at least it should be. If
it's like I always refer to pit
mix.
And listen, if you want to own a pit, that's your prerogative. But if you own a pit and you have kids, I think that's borderline reckless, stupid even. Because every pit bull owner's famous last words are, "Oh, they're just a couch hippo that would lick you to death before they bit you." And then they snap because whatever, and
because they just can't. Yeah.
Some 7-year-old gets mauled to death because oops. And they're like, I just can't believe it. It was such a sweet dog. And you're like, it was bred to fucking take down bulls, like, and fight. Like, that's all they've been bred for. What do you think? What do you think that innate quality just goes away? No, it takes thousands of years to breed that out of an animal.
And that can go.
And we've been spending the last 1,000 years breeding it into them.
And that can go with any breed of dog. Like, my parents, when I was born in 1983, they had a dog. It was a little like a Yorkie Terrier.
Mm-hmm.
When I was born and they brought me home as a newborn infant, fucking, the dog did not like me. So they got rid of the dog. Like, they rehomed the dog. They're like, the dog's not having it. Oh, nope.
Yeah, I mean.
And that was just a little yappy fucking ankle biter dog. You know what I'm saying?
Well, those dogs, and like I said, like my parents had a Yorkie she just passed away like a week ago, actually. And she was 16 and a half years old. And she was a love. She loved everybody in the family. Like, she got along with everybody and she was great, but she was very much my mother's dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're very one-person dogs. And like, if somebody would get close to my mom, like give her a hug or like say hi to her in like a public, like social situation, because she would get very protective of my mom. And those dogs are very aggressive. Like, even my brother has he has like a mini Australian Shepherd, and it's the female one is very protective of my brother's wife. Like, if you're like and it depends on the situation too. Like, it's very situation specific with dogs. But like, if you don't know how to read a dog and read its body language and its attitude, like, it can turn into a disaster real quick. And like, a few times, like, somebody's gotten in between my brother's wife and the dog didn't like it and would go after, whether it was my dog or my parents' dog or whatever, like defending her or whoever she thought she was defending against this other dog because she was the little alpha female.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to be, and that's fine. But like, those behaviors can be curbed, but it takes a lot of time and patience and training, and it's very difficult to get that out of them. But neither here nor there.
And it's one thing when it's a dog that size; it's another when it's something that could potentially kill you.
I call her my little queen of corpulence, because she's just a little fat fucking ball of fur. Which is awesome. I think it's hilarious. It's got this tiny head and this really fat body. It's like if you took a baked potato and just put toothpicks in it for legs and then put like a little tiny head on it.
What is it? She a corgi?
No, but she's a mini Australian Shepherd.
Oh, okay.
And cute as fucking cute as cute gets. But like, we like, just kind of one, like an aside, like, we house sat. I took care of my brother's dogs when he went on his honeymoon. So his dogs came to my house. They have a male and a female. The male is the puppy. He's like 6 months old, 8 months old, whatever. And the female is like 4 or 5. And the female would hop up on the couch with my wife while my wife was like watching Netflix or whatever. And then if my dog, my German Shepherd, would like go over to my wife, she would get to try to defend my get my dog away from my wife. And my dog was like, nah, bro, like, that's mine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's my spot.
And there was one situation where it turned a little bit scary because, like, thank God my wife is like super fucking in tune with dogs and body language and how they operate and everything else. And she saw it coming from a mile away and was able to kind of like get there in time to like
mitigate it.
Not completely not stop it, but like stop it from being, because like my dog would tear that dog to shreds. Like, if my dog wanted to kill it, it would take 2 seconds. My dog's 80 pounds. Theirs is 20. You know what I mean? So like, my wife was able to get in between it and stop it. But like, little dogs have that aggressive nature in them. And that's why you always see like the most aggressive breeds are always like Chihuahuas and Yorkies or like some sort of terrier, all these other things.
Rat terrier for some years. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He
killed
you know
what you never hear? You never hear that like, oh, a family's 5-year-old was ripped to shreds by their pack of Yorkies. Like, never happens.
Well, maybe a pack, but Jesus Christ, that'd have to be a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean,
and that kid also would have already had to 2 broken legs. Like, how can you not defend yourself?
Was it a paraplegic? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
The only way I can think of it.
How tragic is this?
So yeah, like, I mean, but it always comes back to it, and again, I don't hate pit bulls. I've met a lot of them I like my neighbor has one, and he is the coolest fucking little buddy. They're like super cool dogs. But again, I'm always just very wary of them because I know what they're capable of, and I know they snap. And when they snap, it's usually it can be fatal.
It can be.
Or at least permanently life altering. Like they're big, strong animals that were bred for one thing. And I hate these people that come out, they're like, oh, they're nanny dogs. They were nanny dogs. Like, no, that was a myth. That like somebody literally just made that up. It's been debunked. Like, you literally just made that up and were like to try to save face for the breed for whatever reason. Because I don't understand the flex that people have where like they have to own one of these dogs in order to like feel like, yeah, I'm the man. I own a pit bull.
Well, because they couldn't afford a Corvette.
Yeah, they couldn't afford that.
They're overcompensating for something.
Or it's got to be because like I don't understand, especially if you have a family. Like I just don't see it because again, it's not all of them, But I always refer to bring this back full circle. Yeah. I always refer to pit bulls as the breed of peace, much like I refer to Islam as the religion of peace. It's all good until it's not.
And then they put up that Iron Dome.
Yeah.
Which is their lockjaw capability.
Right? And man, I've seen, and every time I see a fucking video of a dog fight at out in public at like a cafe on the side of the road or like, some fucking dog park or something, it's always a pit bull going after another dog. Like it just never fails. And it just, again, it's not every one of them, but it's a lot of them. And I'll tell you what, dude, you ever want to piss off pit bull owners? Just be like, cute baby mauler. You know what I mean? Like they get like super irate. I remember Jerry Callahan and Kurt Minahan were like, if it was ever a slow news day and they wanted to get the phones going and just like argue with people, they would talk shit about NASCAR or pit bulls. Because all the NASCAR fans and all the pit bull defenders would just flood the phone lines and be like, "You're fucking wrong, fuck you." You know what I mean? And they were like, "If it's ever a slow news day, we know just talk shit about one of those two things, and we're gonna get 1 billion phone calls."
Yeah, right. The boards will lighten up, fellas. You just talk about those two things. Who cares?
And it's
not
true.
Dennis and Callahan anymore.
No, it was Dennis and Callahan with Minahan. Then it was Kirk and Callahan, and then you're like, ah.
I used to listen to.
They got fired for fighting the good fight.
Dude, I went to the Wani Awards back in like 2008 or something like that.
Nice.
It was fun. It was at the Wayne
Ordway
Theater.
Was a legend. Ordway was great. I hated the Big Show because it was just too much like people running over each other, and like Fred Smerlas kind of ruined it for me a lot of the times.
I feel you.
The blatant, but I listened to it because of the blatant homerism. And sometimes I loved that because I loved
and
the
Weiner line was great. Like
the Weiner line was fucking exceptional, dude. That was some quality work. We have a friend of ours too that did a lot of wines, and he did a really good job on them.
No shit.
But once they went to like when Ordway, when the Big Show dissolved and they brought back Ordway in the afternoons, it was pretty good for a long while there. I loved the morning show. Kirk and Callahan in the morning was fucking awesome. That was my morning commute show every morning when I was working up in Woburn. I'd put that on.
Sure, I used to listen to Dennis and Callahan too. And
same. I mean, I started listening to Dennis and Callahan when I realized that they did more than just sports, and that's what I wanted to hear. I was like, oh yeah, like I don't want to just talk about sports.
Yeah,
I want to talk story of the day shit. Like what we talk about now.
Kind of political. Kind of conservatively, at least Callahan was.
Oh, they both were. And I still listen to Jerry Callahan.
Right.
Jerry Callahan still the Jerry Callahan show is still one of my daily listens. I listened to it today, and like I couldn't wait. Like the one thing I hate about the holiday season, Christmas and New Year's, is everybody takes like those 2 weeks off, so there's really no new podcasts. So like, I didn't have my daily dose of Bongino or Callahan, and I'm like, fuck, like. What am I going to listen to? And then I got to like listen to sports podcasts. I'm like, ugh.
God damn.
I hate listening to sports stuff because I feel like I know more than the people that are talking about it anyway.
I already watch it all the time.
Yeah. And plus,
I don't somebody else talk about it.
I don't typically do sports podcasts or radio anymore because I don't want someone else's opinion tainting mine. You know what I mean? Like I like to watch the game and then do my show on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
That way
you form
it's
your
my
opinion.
opinion.
Yeah. It's how you absorbed the goddamn game.
Exactly. So, I try not to do too much sports radio anymore, but it is helpful to do because, I can't watch everything every day. So like I'll listen to that stuff just to get caught up and kind of just be like, oh, okay, like this is what's going on. But I started listening to Dennis and Callahan when I found out that they were more political about stuff. And then I started really listening to them when like the Charlie Sheen shit came out, like the Tiger's blood, the winning, that whole thing.
Yeah, so we're talking like
2009, 10.
10-ish. Jamie,
somewhere in there. Because I had to, because my wife was at Northeastern and I was driving her up to school when after she got into her accident, she didn't have a car, and I would have to drive her up to Northeastern for class in the morning, and then I'd drive back to Bridgewater, take my classes, then drive back to Northeastern, pick her up, and then drive her home.
Northeastern.
And I was listening to, I remember I exactly where I was. I was getting off, I was at the 95-24 split, and I was getting on 24 when the whole Charlie Sheen thing, when they were talking about the whole Charlie Sheen Tigers winning blood thing.
13 years ago.
So 2011.
Yeah. Yeah, we're right there, basically.
Yeah. So that was when they played the, what was it? Rebecca Black's Friday. Remember that song?
Friday,
Yeah.
Gotta get down with Friday.
And they were like, who made this song? Like, and who thought this was a good idea? It was like, but like the production value of the video was like pretty good. So they were like, someone put some fucking money into this. Like who? And like, who was it? And they were like playing it and mocking it and everything else. And it was wicked funny.
Oh, here's this shit.
But yeah, so I started listening to them probably right around then. And then that would lead into the midday being, Rich Keefe when he came over from 98.5, and he was great. I loved Rich because he was like me. He was video game nerd, loved NASCAR, and was a good sports talk guy too. And he was really fun. Even though
right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, even though what's his name there?
You'd like to talk to.
What was his co-host name there that did the Bruins play-by-play?
Oh.
He was we called him the Ned Flanders of sports talk radio.
Yeah, the guy with the glass. Oh, God damn it! I know it because I fucking watched him. God.
Dale Arnold.
Dale Arnold. Yeah.
Dale Arnold. We called him he was the Ned Flanders of radio.
Dale and Holly was the show. Yeah.
Yes, Dale and Holly, show. and then Holly ended up leaving and doing his own thing.
Yeah, Michael Holly is kind of an asshole.
He's all right. I like Holly. He was cool, but yeah, I could take him or leave him. But I liked Dale and Keefe. They were good. And then obviously when the Big Show dissolved, but they brought back Ordway after they fired him the first time.
Yep.
And it was OMF. It was Ordway, Merloni, and Fourier. That was great.
Oh yeah.
Because then
Merloni and Fourier. Yeah, that was when they
got. That was when they got in trouble for mimicking fucking Don Yee as like a stereotypical Asian person.
That's right. Oh,
and they all got like suspended and like had to go to like class to be more sensitive and shit.
I think once that show was done, that's when I stopped listening to all sports talk radio.
I stopped the day they fired Kirk and Callahan. That was it. I stopped listening to EI altogether. Haven't listened to it since.
I haven't just listened to any of it. Like I used to watch like ESPN.
I have my select national guys that I still listen to. Like I still listen to Adam Shine. Here and there. Again, I try not to listen.
You have another show where you actually talk about sports, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't really have to follow it. I follow it because I like to, but it's only the stuff I like.
If I do listen to sports talk stuff, it's more focused now. Like it'll be like I'll listen to like a Broncos podcast or a Lakers podcast. You know what I mean? Like something that's relevant to the teams I like. I very rarely listen to like the national stuff now because I got so sick and tired of even the NFL Network on Sirius Radio, which was my go-to for years. I listened to that every day, all day. Didn't matter who was on. I was just consuming it
all day, every day.
And then at one point, they were just it just became it was like this is the Cleveland Browns radio network, and all we're going to talk about is the Cleveland Browns. And I'll never forget it. We were leaving.
I don't want to hear about these losers.
Yeah, me and my brother were leaving Buffalo Wild Wings one afternoon. And we're listening to Sirius XM. We're listening to the NFL Network, and they're just taking calls on the Cleveland Browns. And this is week 15, 14 or whatever. The Browns are a 2-win team. They're going to be drafted in the top 5. And every single call was like, well, what about the Browns and the Browns and the Browns? And they're just for like 15, 20 minutes talking about the Browns. And I started flipping the fuck out in the car. My brother like Snapchatted me without me knowing. And I was like, why the fuck are you talking about the fucking Browns? They fucking suck. Shut the fuck up. Talk about somebody. And I'm screaming. And my brother's just Snapchatting me, like laughing. He's like, got a problem with the Browns? And I'm like, fuck the Browns. And then from that day forward, like I barely listened to it anymore because it just became like, I don't.
Well,
and
I
now,
can't
like,
say I blame you for that.
Yeah,
because...
like, dude, I just get so sick and tired of hearing about the Cleveland fucking Browns. I'm like, they're one of the worst franchises in all of sports. Like, who cares if they've got a big fan base? So does every other fucking team. And there's 31 other teams. Like, you can't talk about somebody who's relevant or like middle of the pack that could be relevant, could go either direction. Like, I don't know. It chapped my ass so bad. It's
going nowhere conversation.
It's early. It's like mid-December, and we're talking about who the Cleveland Browns might be looking at drafting in the 3rd round come April. And I'm like, who fucking cares? It doesn't matter. They can go back and draft Peyton Manning. They're still gonna suck. Yeah, like they're still gonna suck. They always suck. They're the Browns. Fuck them. But yeah, that was the end. I pretty much broke up with sports radio after that because I was like, I just can't do it anymore. And then you get to a point too where like I don't even watch like ESPN like pregame stuff anymore because I don't feel like I'm learning anything. The only sports broadcast that I truly look forward to and make a point to watch is the Manning cast. So when they do the Monday night Manning cast and it's Peyton and Eli and they bring in Belichick and everything else, I will go and sit at my bar and I will watch that wall to wall.
Well, you are the biggest simp I've ever seen for the Mannings in general.
Well, mostly Peyton, but Eli's cool too. But the difference is I learn something when I watch when they're talking about the game and they're breaking it down. They're not dumbing it down to the lowest common denominator of the people watching. It's football for football nerds. Let me put it that way. So
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
If you want to geek out on like X's and O's and route concepts and audibles and blocking schemes and defenses and everything else, that's your show because they go through all of that. And then you got Bill Belichick sitting there like talking about it with him. And he's like, oh yeah, we ran this defense in 2009, week 10. And I'm like, oh yeah, against the Chargers. I remember that. And he's like, yeah, against the Chargers. Like, I'm like, okay, now I'm putting it together. It's football for football nerds.
Right, exactly. And that's great.
And it is phenomenal. Other than that, I fucking hate sports media. It sucks. I almost fucking launched my mimosa at the TV on Sunday morning when Alex Smith is sitting there waxing poetic about the Kansas City Chiefs backups. I mean, like, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're a 15-1 team. They're backups, okay? They could be starters on just about any other team in this league. That's how deep they are. And I'm like,
but they're not.
I'm like, no, they couldn't. They're going to get blown the fuck out this afternoon. Like, my only regret
how'd that
was
game go, by the way?
The Broncos won 38-0. So, yeah. So much for those fucking stellar backups, Alex Smith.
Right.
Fucking douche.
Yeah, but I watched the first 4 minutes of it, and I was like, yeah, I don't really. The Patriots didn't lose. And idiots.
Gerard Mayo got fired because of it. I mean, not because of it, but
he should. Yeah, Vrabel should have been their pick for coach in the offseason.
From day one.
Yes,
he was the
absolutely.
move. He was the only move to replace Belichick. They fucked it up. And I love how Robert Kraft came out today, and I'll talk about this much more in depth tomorrow night on Row One Seat One. But yes. Belichick, Kraft comes out, and he's like, there's plenty of blame to go around. But he says this whole situation is on me. I didn't put Gerard in a good position to succeed, and it was my fault, and it's my fault to get fired. But there's plenty of blame to go around. I'm like, wait, what? Which one is it?
Huh?
Like talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Yeah, and absolutely.
And
like
I think that's where the
turtle with the fucking mouth.
Yeah. And the Patriots as a franchise are in trouble because they've got a franchise quarterback and they're about to squander it because the Crafts are they're no longer interested in winning Super Bowls. Like they did that. It was fun. They sold out to do it, but
they
now
cemented their legacy in that.
Now they're in it just to make the money, and you're going to see the Patriots just fade back to the median, and they're going to be one of those teams like every couple years they'll pop up and you'll be like, oh, the Patriots are good this year. But it's going to be, think more Bledsoe era than Brady era.
It's going to be a parallel to, you just said Bledsoe, the Dallas Cowboys, I think.
Yeah, where I can see 30 years from now, Patriots fans being like, I watched Tommy Tutty come back 28-3 in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, it was fucking great. And all these kids nowadays are gonna be like, okay, bro, like go get your jorts and your fucking Jordans,
yeah, these broccoli-headed kids with their
they're all gonna be like, all right, bro, we get it. Yeah, Tom Brady was fucking great, man, but he's no Pat Mahomes or I don't know.
And then they
whatever kid's
you.
gonna be drafted 10 years from now that's gonna be, throwing 38 touchdowns a game because it's a flag football league.
It'll probably be LeBron James' grandson.
Probably. LeBron James's grandson. He's a tight end. He's better than Gronk.
Yep.
You're like, no, he's not. But you didn't see Gronk play, so you wouldn't know.
No.
But then I'm going to be that old guy at the bar that's going to be telling these young kids, like, back in my day, and these kids are going to be like, okay, bro, whatever you say, old man.
Well, to be fair, they'd also be saying, oh, Gronk, you mean that guy that smashes Steve Harvey's Lego head on a stage, which is like the greatest thing ever. And
that
also,
was really good. Because he wasn't
like
supposed
a
to do that.
Company. Yeah.
The best part is
what do you got him out there doing this for?
And you got everybody on the stage looking around like, what the fuck? Why did he do that? And he's just like,
you bring him in?
And Gronk's like, I don't know, bro. That's my thing. He handed me the thing. I thought that's what he wanted me to do, so I did it. Like,
oh no, he picks it up. Gronk explicitly picks it up and smashes it. Like, it wasn't a mistake.
No, but he thought it was there for him to smash. Like, that's what he thought. He
thought so.
He thought that, and then he was like, well, what the fuck was it there for if I wasn't supposed to smash it? Like,
and then Steve Harvey's like, you know how hard it is to find those brown Legos?
Oh my God, that was
I'm good.
That was so fucking funny, dude. But we always like laugh about like Gronk being Gronk. Like, that's just Gronk doing Gronk shit, man.
Right? I mean, at least
it's
he
just
didn't
what he does.
Kill people like Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get a DUI manslaughter charge like Leonard Little did, which that just got swept under the rug. But that's a story for another day.
Exactly. No, Gronk was just our happy idiot. He's everybody's happy idiot now.
Yo soy fiesta.
Exactly. Yo soy fiesta. Improper Spanish.
Which is the best kind of Spanish.
Exactly. That is chef's kiss.
It really is. It was fucking
great. He's a big oaf. He's having
You want to talk about American heroes? Start with Gronk.
And that's coming from a guy who does not like the Patriots whatsoever.
No, but I love Gronk. And I do love Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady's great. I just wish he had played for any other team.
Fair.
It's like there's a lot of guys on the Patriots that I like grew to love over the years. I mean, even Bill Belichick, love. Again, wish he'd coached any other team. But greatest coach of all time. And, if there's anybody I could sit down and like talk to, there's two guys that I would love to sit down and talk to. Mike Shanahan and Bill Belichick.
Good choices.
Because those
very good choices.
I feel like I could learn so much from any of them. And like, especially like the way that they know history and the history of the game and like, it gets that's the shit that gets my giny tingling.
I think you'd be hard pressed to come up with anybody better than those two that you just mentioned, Shanahan and Belichick.
Gil Brandt is one of those guys that's covered the league for so long and in depth that he's another but he was a pundit. He wasn't a coach. I guess he did kind of coach for the Cowboys or played for the Cowboys at one point.
Well, the way I'm hearing you say it though is that the way how you want to understand it and from who you want to understand it from. Like,
yes.
These are the two minds of football that if I could pick their brain, I would.
I mean, in their own ways, each one of them revolutionized the game. And they're true trailblazers and groundbreakers. Like I talked to one of my captains. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. We talked about like the greatest guitarist of all time, and my captain at the time, he said, he had Jimi Hendrix number one, and I said I got Stevie Ray Vaughan number one, and he looked at me and said, Joey, there are innovators, there are imitators. Jimi Hendrix was the ultimate innovator, and I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, maybe not the best, maybe not the greatest, the most technically sound, like whatever.
Yes,
but
you and I have
did
talked
shit
about
that nobody else had ever done yet, and paved the way for people.
That's why he is my number one still.
Yeah, and like I have no problem. Like he's my 1A. It's like it's him and SRV. Like,
that's totally fine.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely understand that.
And then it's just like, okay, cool. Like you're really splitting the atom there when you start deciding who's better. But like when Eric Clapton goes to a Stevie Ray Vaughan concert and he's like, I am not worthy of playing this instrument.
I'm creaming in my jeans and
and Eric Clapton, nothing to spit at. You know what I mean? Like
slow hand.
Yeah. So like,
and
he said that, and that's why I appreciate Belichick and Shanahan so much, because the era that they played, that they coached in, the eras they coached in, the things they accomplished while they were coaching, and the way they revolutionized certain things, like Shanahan with the run schemes and the run blocks that are basically used throughout the league now, in some way, shape, or form, with the zone blocking schemes, and then Belichick with the shit he did on defense and really on offense too, which doesn't get a lot of credit because he was like, you can't draft a wide receiver. Like, who fucking cares? But like the shit that he did and they both did, were just it was incredible.
At least you can admit that too. Like you're
Bill Belichick is the greatest. Bill Belichick's the greatest head coach of all time in any sport. It's not even close.
Holy shit, he said it.
Oh, it's not even close. I've been saying that on Row One Seat One for years. I mean, he's better than Phil Jackson. He's better than Greg Popovich. Just name any. He's better than Shula, even though he doesn't have as many wins. Like the shit Bill Belichick did in the National Football League with the salary cap, was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, to go to 10 straight or 9 straight AFC championships is just. It's fucking unheard of, dude.
And also just, the stretch of time, too. Like,
that's the thing. Like, it's not like he didn't have the same group of guys for 4 or 5 years cash in and then flame out. No, he just kept replacing those guys. Like, I still remember when Ty Law went down for the season in 2004 against Pittsburgh on Halloween. And I'm like, yes, finally. Like, the injury bug is biting the Patriots. Like, we're going to get some... the field's about to be leveled. They're like,
and then who comes creeping up?
And then it's like, okay, well, here comes Asante Samuel, some rookie from, whatever fucking school he was from. And they're like, well, I'm like, yeah, okay, like this kid's ever gonna be fucking good. 10 years later, I'm like, God fucking damn it. Like, fuck off. Like, just go away.
So many interceptions, fucking
big plays. I mean, everything, dude. The kid was a stud. Like, an absolute stud. And every time you thought like the Patriots were like, oh, somebody got hurt, that's it. They're finally going down.
Wes Welker goes down.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Tom Brady went down.
Who the fuck is Edelman?
Tom Brady went down, for Christ's sakes, and they still won 11 fucking games in 2008. Like, they should have been in the playoffs. I think there's only 2 11-win teams that have ever missed the playoffs: the Patriots and the Broncos. Like, that is fucking insane.
And they won those with Garoppolo, and it turns out, Garoppolo was supposed to be the next big thing.
Actually, that was Matt Castle in 08.
Well, yes, then. But then, Garoppolo.
But then, Brady got suspended, and then Garoppolo comes in. I mean, which was funny because then Garoppolo comes in, gets hurt, and then you're like, okay, we're going to start Jacoby Brissett, this third stringer. Yeah, okay, they're definitely going to lose some games. Nope, 4-0 in Brady's absence. No big deal. Just, just keep on marching, boys. We're just going to keep winning games.
Yeah, and Brissett, to his credit, journeyman quarterback, started the season for the Patriots this year, too.
Yeah, Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. I won't hear anything otherwise. People love to split hairs. Like, well, Belichick, the GM, fucking sucked. No, he didn't. if you think Belichick the GM sucked, then you don't have any idea of
Then that's saying
the
that
drafting
he sucked
of
as a coach.
the draft
because
process.
He did both. Yeah.
Yeah. People are like, well, he just got lucky because he had Tom Brady. I was like, wow, that's so funny. Like, can you tell me who drafted Tom Brady?
Nobody.
Oh, Bill Belichick did. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's crazy. And who developed Tom Brady over all those years? Oh, Bill Belichick was the head coach. Huh.
Yeah, this
Okay.
doughy fucking kid
Here
from
I was
Michigan.
thinking that this fucking doughy dad bod fuck from Michigan came into the league and was just like, yeah, I'm gonna win 7 Super Bowls and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. Look at me. I got a rocket fucking arm. I got every intangible. I'm the greatest fucking league. Like, no, that took fucking years to fucking develop.
Yeah.
Brady was good.
Tom Brady was never that great at any of those things. Like, he was
Brady
a
was-
great pocket quarterback and a great system quarterback within Belichick's system. He did win with Tampa, of course, as well. But
that's different because in that scenario, like, I mean, people are like, oh, well, he won without Belichick. I'm like, yeah, but he got to hand pick what team he went to.
Yeah,
like,
he had a
he got to look at he got to look
offense.
at yeah, he looked at 31 rosters across the league and he was like, well, we got first ballot Hall of Famer Mike Evans. We got this guy Chris Godwin on the other side. It's pretty good. I'm gonna bring Gronk with me.
Yeah,
they got Tristan Wirfs at left tackle, so my blind side's fucking solid. We'll bring LeGarrette Blount Leonard Fournette down here with us. Fournette. That'll get the run game cooking. Yeah, we can, and then we'll bring in Antonio Brown too, just for shits and giggles to be the number 4.
Because that's fun.
You know what I mean? Fuck it, who cares? So it's a lot different for Brady. Now they did win it, even though Brady did everything he could to blow it against the Packers by throwing 3 interceptions in that NFC Championship game. But They won it, so it is what it is. But it's different for a quarterback when you're at that level, when you get to hand select a roster. I mean, that roster they were an 8-8 football team the year before, and Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions. Like, you gave the other team 30 additional opportunities from one guy to score points on you. If Jameis Winston cuts that interception rate down to like 20 or 15, the Bucs are probably 14-2 that year before.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
At
like,
least cut it down by half. Like 30 interceptions that's ridiculous.
He's the only man in the 30-30 club. And listen, I love me a gunslinger, but goddamn, bro. But I don't mean to hijack. I don't want to hijack our show with sports talk because it is, but it's relevant. It's Brady. It's New England.
It is. Hey, and I appreciate that you appreciate all that the Patriots.
But the one thing that Brady was better, like everybody always says, and I always like to preface this with like, people think like, oh, I'm the ultimate Brady hater. I am. Okay. Like no one else has Brady getting his knee blown out on a t-shirt. I do. All right. I've tweeted it. Bernard Pollard knows that shirt exists. If Bernard Pollard is in Daytona in a couple of weeks for the 500, I am going to bring it and try to have him sign it for me. You know, and he's agreed that if he would, because we iRaced together, and I've talked to him numerous times, and we've talked.
Get that sig, bro.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I haven't worn that shirt in ages. It doesn't fit me anymore. I've grown considerably since I bought it, but it is a classic 1-of-1. Yeah, it's a classic 1-of-1. Exactly. I'll put it in a shadow box. But I am the ultimate Brady hater. The one thing that Brady was the best at, I mean, aside from winning, because he figured out ways to win games, or he wouldn't he would very rarely commit the fatal mistake, that a lot of quarterbacks would fall into. And I think that had a lot more to do with coaching than it did with Brady per se, because he just stayed in the lines and, did his job, if you will, not to be cliche. The one thing Brady was the best at was his pocket awareness and his movement within the pocket. Go back and watch the 2006 AFC Championship game, the one they were up 21-3 on the Colts, where they and ultimately lost. But if you go back, I believe it's in the third quarter, the game's getting tight. The Patriots drive down, and Brady fires a touchdown to Jabbar Gaffney in the back of the end zone. If you watch that play, Just watch Brady maneuver in the pocket. He takes one step where other quarterbacks should have to take 3 or 4.
The poise.
And he's got the ball and he's eyeing up his receiver and he knows what he's doing. He's using his eyes to look somebody off. And I think it wasn't Monte Rager. I can't remember the defensive tackle's name, who's coming up like just to the left of him, like just almost enough in his blind spot, but just enough where he could see him. And he goes for the strip. Like, he doesn't go for the sack. He goes for the strip, like trying to slot the ball. And as he does it, Brady, it's like an uncle toying with his nephew, just takes it and tucks it behind his back. The defensive lineman falls flat on his face. And he pulls the ball back up and guns it to Jabbar Gaffney in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. And I'm like, fuck, that was nice. Like, it was just the cleanest, purest, subtlest move that you'll ever see. But it was the difference of a fumble. Like, if that's Cam Newton, that ball's on the ground. If that's Drew Bledsoe, that ball's on the ground.
Well, if that's Patrick Mahomes, that's probably some other ridiculous move that we haven't seen yet.
Yes, true.
He's a fucking freak.
He probably does a 360 handstand and then fires it out of his asshole.
Oh yeah, he's doing like Tony Hawk, coffin fucking.
Yeah, he just does like a misty, like a misty for no reason.
You hear that?
Yeah, and just sidearms it into the end zone off a receiver's face mask.
Yeah, and he got all the 5 secret tapes in one shot too.
Yeah, exactly. What's your affinity with my vicinity? I need to get my cherry cola. Well, but that was what Brady was so great at. And that's what I always loved about Brady was his pocket presence and awareness. And that's the one thing that I can say that he was objectively the best at out of every quarterback, because he didn't have the best arm. He was accurate, but he wasn't always the most accurate. He didn't have to be. Because guys were schemed wide open for him all the time, so it really didn't matter. He had the scheme, he had all this up, but his pocket awareness and his pocket presence was second to none. Like, he was like the Larry Bird of the pocket, like had eyes in the back of his head, could feel a sack coming from a mile away. So when you did get to him and you did hit him and you did sack him, it was a big deal. And that's what I that's what I loved about Brady.
Sometimes when they did, he still got that throw off.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes, not every time.
Not every time, but there was, trust me, man, going up against the Patriots and Brady and Belichick, that was the most frustrating part of my 20s. Was watching them just dominate.
Peyton versus Brady was probably the best football I ever watched growing up.
It was must-see TV. There was
no
two ways about it.
I grew up earlier before. I mean, I was 3 when the Patriots lost to the Bears in '86, so I don't remember that. But I remember them losing to Green Bay in
I was in 6th grade that year. I remember wearing green and yellow to school on the Friday before. That's how long I've been a hater.
I had an AFC Championship shirt that said "Squeeze the cheese."
Yep, I remember that.
I had that, but yeah, they ended up losing.
Squish the fish, squeeze the cheese.
Squish the fish, squeeze the cheese. Bury the Bears. I still have the '86 shirt. Actually, that was my dad's. I still have it.
Yep.
But
Jim McMahon has 2 Super Bowls, 2 rings.
2.
Jim McMahon, the quarterback for the '85 Bears, has 2 rings.
Yes.
He does.
Super
it's crazy.
Bowl shuffle, Jim Bears.
Yeah. So he had obviously the one with the Bears, and then he was the backup for the Packers in '96.
Oh, he was. Jesus. A whole 10 years later.
Yeah, just about 11 years later, really. But yeah, he was Brett Favre's backup that year. So he has 2 Super Bowl rings.
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre from Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. Remember when he had braces?
I do.
That happened.
I don't care. Brett Favre can steal all the tax money he wants. He's still one of my favorite people of all players of all time.
I mean, he stole it from charity.
Oh, he didn't steal it. He just asked a friend of his who was in the government to allocate the funds to something that would directly benefit his daughter. I don't think he didn't actually steal anything, but
I mean,
he threw his weight around and he was like, yo, my daughter's going to this school and they want a new volleyball facility. My daughter plays volleyball. I want to have a great facility.
he was
Make
like,
it happen.
hey, have you seen the videos of me jacking off wearing Crocs?
In Crocs to a girl that looks exactly like my wife, but 20 years younger.
Well, here's that video.
I mean, you can
Now you all shut up.
say what you want about Brett Favre, but we definitely know his type of women.
Yeah, exactly like his wife.
Sweet Hooters and dark hair.
Yeah, it's him going to Hooters or like Twin Peaks if you've ever been to one of those.
I haven't, but there's one in Daytona I'm going to visit in February.
I went to the one in Kansas City or just outside of it, right near the airport.
Yep.
That one was fun.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be
Good
one of my
food.
stops when we get down
The
there.
food was actually very good,
Nice.
I must say.
Good to know. Good to know. But all right, we're going to leave it there. Is that did we cover everything?
Think so. I think we did. I mean, what else do we have to say about the Cybertruck guy? Like, what do you
I'm waiting for the facts to come out about
Same.
that because that
just seems so.
It's too coincidental. It's too perfect. It's too staged.
Too cartoonish to me.
Yep.
It
ain't
seems
buying
like
it.
something like Wile E. Coyote would set up, and then the Roadrunner doesn't fall for it because it's fucking stupid. It's like
Pretty much.
That's fucking dumb.
Yep. That's kind of where I'm at with that one. So a Green Beret loads a truck with fucking kerosene and fireworks and doesn't even break a single fucking window on the building that he was attempting to blow up.
And it's a Cybertruck that he rented, and it's at the Trump building. It's too on the nose. It's
from the same app as the guy who rented the truck that plowed through all those people in New Orleans, which
it would seem exactly. It would seem more believable if you told me that story if the perpetrator was like an obese white woman with dyed bright colored hair.
Facts.
Like that would seem more believable to me than a Green Beret detonating a fucking Cybertruck with just fireworks.
Yeah. It's just like, you know what? Nah, I'm not buying this one. Sorry, boys. Sorry. Sorry, CIA. You're going to have to do better. Go back to Hollywood and get your writers to write you up something a little bit more believable than this.
Exactly. And it's like all they use is snakes and sparklers because that's just what they like.
They're like, ooh, we like these. We want to make a mess, but we don't want to make too much noise.
Well, they don't listen to the consumer. But you know who does? Our listeners, Joey.
Yes, they do. Yes,
Goddamn right.
Fucking do. Well, Trav, that was fun. I might not be available next Monday night, so we might have to put a pin in that, but we'll play it by ear. Yes, we will. But for now, we'll plan for it.
Hey, I'm here for it whenever you're here for it, brother.
Sounds good to me.
Until next time, everybody, thank you for joining us. And Joey, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Been fun. Enjoy doing it.
Goddamn always. Good night,
All
folks.
right. See you next week.
Later.